Hi there, Kim McDonald. It is going to
having some
be a
issues.
day of active weather across Ontario and Quebec as well. Already a slew of watches and warnings issued by Environment and Climate Change Canada. That's why we're looking at this colorful map here. Currently, we have severe thunderstorm warnings that have been popping up on both sides of the Ontario-Quebec border, along the shores of Lake Huron, down towards the southwest in Windsor, Essex, and then west towards Val-d'Or as well, or east, sorry, West Quebec. Now, we also have a tornado watch in place. I know people may get concerned as soon as they see the word tornado. Tornado watch means that we have ingredients that there's a possibility of tornadoes forming at some point in these areas. A tornado warning, that's when you need to take shelter. So no tornado warnings at the moment, but that could change at any moment. In yellow, we've got the severe thunderstorm watches. So I just wanted to mention the areas currently under severe thunderstorm warning, meaning that there is a severe thunderstorm in your midst: Windsor, Leamington, Essex County, and then again along the shores of Huron, Bruce Peninsula, Saugeen Shores, Goderich, Wingham. This is an area too that is very popular for people to head to the cottage this time of year, adjacent to areas of Georgian Bay. That's in these brown areas. That's our tornado watch. That's an area we're going to keep close or pay close attention to, obviously, because that's where we could see some rotation. Lots of heat and humidity in the atmosphere, a lot of energy in the atmosphere. It's perfect for this kind of setup. All we need is a trigger for these storms, and that trigger will be the front that's moving through, and we're expecting not just one round, but perhaps several rounds of storms as the day goes on. And I wanted to mention again the difference between a watch and a warning. A severe thunderstorm watch, potential for severe weather to happen. Stay alert. A warning means severe weather is happening in your area. It's time to act. And remember, any severe thunderstorm can produce a tornado. The potential is there. So on a day like today, you want to stay close to home. You want to get into your basement if need be. I'm going to bring in meteorologist Jesse Uppel now, who's been watching these storms, paying close attention as these cells have been moving across the lakes and now are popping up.
Yeah, Kim, there's been a lot of movement. You did start off with the widespread tornado watches, the severe thunderstorm watches and warnings. They've been moving at an incredible pace because these storms have been racing across the Great Lakes Basin, Kim. And it's very important to stay weather aware, especially on a day like today, because alerts can change in a matter of seconds. And I want to give everyone at home a glimpse as to what the setup is like, this atmospheric setup that we've been talking about, because meteorologists have been able to track this day to the T and expect exactly what we're seeing pop up on radar. There's a low pressure system highlighted over the upper Great Lakes. There's a couple of lines of interest. There's one crossing portions of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay, and there's another line out ahead of it, which is producing a lot of lightning activity, heavy amounts of rain, strong winds, as well as nickel-sized hail. That's all been reported so far. And I want to bring you through some areas of interest, because satellite imagery as well as radar do a great job at illustrating exactly where these cells are oriented. Let's take you to portions of northeastern Ontario where we have been seeing a whole lot of lightning and heavy downpours associated with these storms, especially crossing portions of Ontario and Quebec border. Kim, you mentioned that. I do want to just stop right there and say that there is now, in fact, a tornado warning in place. And you know what? It's funny enough that we just said alerts can change in the matter of seconds. Highlighted in the fuchsia pink on your screen is, in fact, where we are seeing a tornado warning in place. If you want to bring Kim McDonald back in place, we could talk about the exact locations that are, in fact, under this tornado warning.
Yes, so we've got that warning just off the show. I just want to mention too, tornado safety, because it's good to know now before it's too late. And if you can give me that warning, I just want to know exactly where we're talking about here. So again, take shelter in a basement. If you don't have a basement, get to the lowest floor in your building. Get to an interior room. That's where you want to be in a tornado situation. A room without windows, preferably. People talk about getting into a closet, into a bathroom. That's always a good place. Into a bathtub if need be. Cover your head. You don't want to be near a window. You're not going to be going out and watching this thing come in. That's the worst possible scenario. And driving is always a problem as well. If people are out and about, getting to a shelter is the best thing to do. So Waterford, Eastern Lambton County are the areas currently under a tornado warning. So Waterford, Eastern Lambton County, if this is where you live, you are, you're in a situation that could be potentially dangerous. You'll want to get to, again, a basement, the lowest floor of your home, away from windows, because with tornadoes, we're always worried about glass breaking, about things flying around. So debris flying is what generally hurts people. That's what's always problematic when it comes to a tornado. And this is, Jesse, like a hot, soupy air mass. It's exactly the kind of air mass that can bring on something like a tornado. Severe weather, that's already started, and this is going to be ongoing likely for the next several hours.
Absolutely. It's not only the hot, soupy air mass, Kim, that we have been dealing with. Now we have a trigger within the atmosphere, which is that cold front that continues to slide in over portions of Lake Huron. It moves on shore, and as it does so, there's a whole lot of thunderstorm energy and activity being reported. Let's highlight one storm that is, in fact, tornado warned on your screen. Watford, right along the 401 corridor, just east of Sarnia. Again, that whole region on your screen is under a tornado watch, but now highlighted in the fuchsias is that tornado warning. I've overlaid lightning here. Very distracting because there's just a whole lot of lightning activity with this. Over 1,000 strikes of lightning being reported just across the southern shores of Lake Huron. But let's zoom into these cells, Kim, and because they are forming more of a line, more linear in nature. If I drag this up and just show you how this line has been moving on shore along Highway 21, along the shorelines of Lake Huron, it's quite incredible to see the convergence zone really start to take shape and move further to the east. It's moving fairly slow in nature. And again, we are seeing a tornado warning. So Watford, Pinery Park, Eastern Lambton County, those areas are under a tornado warning. And
if I can just jump in, Jesse, I just want to mention that the Pinery area is a very popular campground. So people would be there, in their tents, obviously. That's a dangerous situation. But I know they also have solid buildings at Pinery Park, where you go to take your showers and bathrooms. So they have a lot of that. They have a main building where you can, pick up some groceries and that kind of thing. So people who have at least their phones on them would have the alerts coming through when there is a tornado warning, and you don't even need to have our Weather Network app, although you should, because you'll really be aware of what's to come. But again, if you know somebody camping at Pinery Park, you may want to get in touch with them ASAP, because if they don't know that there's a tornado warning, then maybe you are the person who are watching me now who can alert them to it. So again, Watford, Pinery Park, Eastern Lambton County, all currently under a tornado warning.
And now just in this severe thunderstorm warning, Kim, has extended just to the east of that tornado warning region, now including the city of London. So if you are heading further to the east, you could see those severe thunderstorm cells. They're moving just to the east, and they're moving relatively quickly at about 80 kilometers per hour. If I show you a zoomed out look at this radar, you could see the linear pattern in which these thunderstorms are taking. They're all traveling just to the east northeast at about 60 to 80 kilometers per hour, relatively quick moving, which is why we're starting to see a lot of these alerts move fairly quickly in nature. I want to bring you through a couple of areas of interest. Again, further across extreme southwestern Ontario, we've been live tracking these storms for you, passing through the Windsor area. We're actually starting to see a bit of clearing. A lot of that activity has just passed through Leamington and tracks over portions of Lake Erie. And again, it's that main line that we're watching. It's all tornado watched along the Huron shorelines as well as Georgian Bay. There's a full look at the low pressure system. It's a sprawling low, and it's bringing a lot of lightning along that trailing cold front. So we'll continue to track that for you. And it's cutting into, as Kim, you mentioned, a very hot, humid air mass, which is why we're starting to see some very violent activity. Strong wind gusts along that cold front. You could start to see the supercell potential die out as we head into the 10, 11 o'clock hour. What do we mean by supercell activity? We mean the potential for violent updrafts, vertical motion within the atmosphere, and the potential for rotating storms carrying that tornadic threat. Let's talk about the whole line of storms because it's very quickly moving. It's moving to the east-northeast at about 60 to 80 kilometers per hour, as I mentioned. There's a secondary line, actually, if you zoom into this. It's quite interesting. There's the actual line of storms that we're starting to see that's tornado watched. And there's another area of interest further to the north, just east of Sault Ste. Marie. There's a lot of lightning as well as heavy rain being reported with that. Kim, not sure if you have any updates with that tornado warning, but let's zoom into that area and talk more about that risk zone.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Someone was asking me why is only one area under the tornado watch and not them, say, not the GTA. It's because we expect, and Environment Canada expected more of the rotation to be farther west, more linear as the storms continue to track east. There's that area, Watford, Eastern Lambton County, Pinery Park under the tornado warning right now. And again, if you're in this area, you're going to want to take shelter because this is where our most severe weather is. But keep in mind too, with severe thunderstorms, these storms in particular have a lot of lightning on them, so you don't have to be under a tornado warning to be in a dangerous storm. Lightning is always dangerous, and so if you are hearing thunder where you are, you're going to want to get indoors. Obviously, if you are watching us, you may not be hearing thunder. I don't know if you're in or out or where you're watching us from, but just as a reminder, you don't have to be in a tornado warning to be in a dangerous situation. These storms have very gusty winds with them, 100-kilometer-per-hour winds. We've got large hail, nickel-size hail, potentially with these storms as well. So yes, we're going to be going to our storm hunter, Mark Robinson, who's been just paying close attention, watching these storms as they come in. I'm hearing him. Oh, there he is. Okay, there's Mark Robinson.
Hi, Kim.
Standing out in the field, and as I've always said, Mark, you are outstanding in your field. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on.
There we go.
Where are you?
Yeah, now Kim, what we've got with this. Oh, okay, I'm just to the east of Grand Bend. You can see sort of the business end of the storm. Back over here, if you look over top of those grain silos right there, that's where the wall cloud was. Now it's lost a little bit of its essentially what its definition. But there, you can see the lightning over there. The lightning's really picked up on it. That usually tells me that these storms have got some decent oomph to them when you see that kind of lightning. Now, of course, here comes the rain. What's happening is there's a couple of cells that are actually pulling into this storm here. And that's where the rain is hitting right now. And I'm going to grab my jacket because I'm getting absolutely soaked. So, yeah.
Live TV, everyone. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least
there
you've
we
got
go.
the gear.
So,
all right.
Yes. So, Kim, if you look again over there, you're going to see that we're going to lose a little bit of definition right now because the rain's coming in here. But once this rain passes, we're going to have a much better look into the core, into the business end of that storm. And that's sort of the part we're concerned about, because that looks like it's going to be passing directly over top of Grand Bend. So that's a populated area. There's lots of people there. I'm hoping everybody's taking the tornado warning seriously and getting into shelter now.
Yeah, I was just mentioning, Mark, how people go camping in this area. Pinery Park is a super popular spot, and this is the area that is under our tornado warning, so the area in pink. When you see pink on the map, you know that means business. Still hearing Mark.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Anyway, so yeah, Watford, Eastern Lambton County, currently under that tornado warning, and Pinery Park as well. We got Mark on camera showing the rain coming in, zipping up. We don't encourage anyone to be outside in these kinds of storms, obviously, Jesse, but Mark is a trained storm hunter, meteorologist. He knows what he's doing. He knows what side of the storm he can safely be on.
Absolutely, that's right. Let's take a closer look, Kim, at that cell. He mentioned that it is heading towards Grand Bend, which is a very popular area, especially on a beautiful hot summer day like today. You definitely want to have a plan in mind. You want to take action. You want to take cover immediately. There's a closer look. I've overlaid the storm track for you. It's tracking to the east-northeast at about 80 kilometers per hour. That's an incredible speed. And if we track well to the north of Highway 21, you can see that line of storms. It continues to move onshore, again, bringing the risk of heavy amounts of rain locally, some strong wind gusts, as well as a lot of lightning, which Mark captured on the screen right there for you to witness. I want to time out these storms because it does coincide with major rush hour as well for many commuters across southern Ontario. So this active zone, it's not only confined to the shorelines of Lake Huron, it is expected to move onshore. So I'll pause it here for you. Around 6 p.m. local time, a cluster of storms is what this model wants to put in further into areas like southwestern Ontario, tracking towards Highway 821, just inclusive of London as well, as we head into the 6-7 o'clock hour range, that time frame. And then I want to actually fast forward this. This is actually quite interesting what this model is doing. It's bringing that cluster of energy as well as heavy amounts of rain, intense lightning towards the GTA. So western shorelines of Lake Ontario getting into very intense thunderstorms, and that energy, it continues to fizzle out, but not until after that midnight hour. So you do want to be weather aware. You do want to secure any outdoor furniture on your patio, on your balcony. I know I reminded my family members of that before heading to work today, because it's going to be more of a damaging wind threat as we head into the later half of this evening through the GTA.
You know, Jesse, a few years ago, I had a storm go through my backyard, and everything came down. The fence came down all around the neighborhood, the fences of all, and our neighbor's glass table flew into our pool and shattered into our pool as well. I mean, there's not much you can, I don't think a lot of people are thinking to bring in patio furniture necessarily. They might want to secure it, but it was one of those, you know, rare situations, but still something to think about. If you've got plants and things outside, you may want to bring them in. And to get those kinds of storms in such a hugely populated area, and as you say, you know, potentially around rush hour, this is going to be a real problem. I would suggest, you know, tell your boss, got to go home early. I mean, this is the benefits of working from home if you can do it, but it's not going to be easy on those highways if these storms roll through. Absolutely.
It's fairly poorly timing. That's what we're talking about, but the timing is favorable for severe storms that we're seeing along the Huron shorelines and across southwestern Ontario. I talk about favorable timing for those areas because it's cutting into peak daytime heating. It's also cutting into peak hours of sunlight and instability within the atmosphere, which is why we've seen widespread tornado watches and now warnings popping up. Severe thunderstorm warnings now blanket further eastward, inclusive of London, further inland, just east of Highway 21. So if you are doing any traveling, you do want to be weather aware over there.
I'm thinking, you know, people who wanted to cool off today were likely at the beach, Lake Huron, perfectly beautiful spot to be on a hot day. That's where people flock to. A lot of popular beaches like Sauble Beach, Port Elgin, gorgeous spot to be at. The good news is, I suppose, is that if you were at the beach, you would see these storms coming from afar as they cross the lake. So you'd have plenty of time because you could see that the storms were in the distance. But again, a very dangerous spot to be as well. The atmosphere has been cooking for a few days now, and we have the cold front coming through. The clash of that cold front with this hot, humid, unstable air mass is what's helping to trigger these storms. And because it's so humid, these are so moisture laden, so heavy amounts of rain, which the area does need, Jesse, but it's all of the other ingredients that go along with that heavy rain that are going to be so problematic. And when we're looking at this map, the brown is a tornado watch, not a tornado warning. The pink area, so Watford, Eastern Lambton County, currently still under a tornado warning, but other areas under severe thunderstorm warning as well in red, including the city of London, biggest city right now under the severe thunderstorm warning. And again, even under a severe thunderstorm, the weather can get dangerous very quickly. And as you mentioned, these storms are moving at such a rapid pace.
Yep, and you mentioned the dry conditions, Kim. We've been seeing well below normal rainfall through many of the populated areas, through the Golden Horseshoe, through the GTA. That's summer for you in parts of Ontario, because we get into the very hot, dry conditions. Not everyone gets a thunderstorm when we're expecting thunderstorms. They're very sparse in nature, they're very scattered in nature, which has give way to very dry conditions, almost drought conditions. Now, it does raise a concern for ponding and pooling out on the roads, because this rainfall is falling at a very quick rate and it's dropping on very dry ground. So the ground is unable to absorb a lot of this water that is falling. That's going to be something we monitor as this line crosses through some of those very dry areas through the GTA. I do want to show you in terms of temperatures, Kim, you've been talking a lot about how hot, how humid it's been. Now we know a cold front's going through today, but it's interesting to see it's not going to be doing too much to our temperatures as we head into tomorrow. So if you are not a fan of the uncomfortable humidity, it's not the greatest forecast for you later this week.
Yeah, usually we think, okay, well, we have to pay the price to get that cooler, fresher air. So we pay the price of the thunderstorms and then we get the break. But as you say, not so much. That heat's going to continue for the foreseeable future. Now we see by early next week, the humidity is not quite as high, but we're not really cooling down anytime soon. Now, I don't mind the humidity because I have air conditioning, I have a pool, I have ways to keep cool. But for those of you who don't have air conditioning, this is not only uncomfortable, but potentially dangerous as well. We talk about how heat can kill. We've seen that happening in Europe because they're under a heat wave, and so many people do not have air conditioning because they're not, they don't get this kind of weather typically. Most people in Southern Ontario would think do have air conditioning, but you don't. If you don't, you need to get somewhere cool, right? A movie theater, a library, a cooling center. That's why they open these up, because there are vulnerable people who can't take this kind of heat, respiratory issues. That becomes even more of a problem as well with this. So thunderstorms, yes, and Jesse, you're talking about the heavy downpours in areas that might not be able to sustain them. Yes, if it falls on a field, that's fantastic if we're lacking rain. But in urban centers, obviously with all that concrete, this can become a problem very quickly. It could lead to ponding on the roads. It can lead to then hydroplaning if that happens as well. So these are all things that we need to keep in mind. It's not just about the possibility of rotation. There's other things to consider too.
Absolutely, Kim. And we mentioned the crossing of this line, this squall line, if you will, is just around that dinner hour and shortly thereafter. So once that pushes through the GTA, we are going to be looking at ponding, pooling, maybe some localized flooding as well. We do have an update to the tornado warning as well, so that will be coming your way very shortly. But in the meantime, I do want to show you just the progression of these storms. This is what we've been tracking. If you're just tuning in to our live stream, our live coverage, active weather, these storms are racing across the Huron shorelines along Highway 21. And we continue to track them as they encounter a tornado watch. Now, to our previous tornado warning, that now we are adding to that. Goderich is now under a tornado warning. So if I zoom in here, you can see now highlighted in the purple, the fuchsia on your screen, that line of storms pushing in along Highway 21. Goderich, Bluewater, Southern Huron County now under a tornado warning. So that means you want to take cover immediately, because radar is indicating that a tornado is possible. Severe thunderstorm is capable of producing a tornado, and it's located near Port Franks, moving east at 80 kilometers per hour. That is new information that we just got in from Environment Canada. Again, widespread tornado watches still in place. So although you're not in the actual tornado warning, if you're just outside of that region, you do want to be weather aware. You want to take all your warnings very seriously, because the conditions are certainly there for the production of severe weather, producing tornadoes or severe thunderstorms. Kim, I'll throw it back to you to give you more of an to give more of an insight on these updates.
Yeah, so the areas you just mentioned, again, are now under the tornado warning, in addition to the ones that we had earlier. So we did have Watford, Eastern Lambton County. They were already under the tornado warning. That hasn't changed. Environment and Climate Change Canada has just added to the warning. So this is brand new for you in Goderich, Bluewater, Southern Huron County. Again, that's on top of Watford, Pinery Park, and Eastern Lambton County. And again, these storms are moving very quickly. Tornado warnings are issued when they are radar indicated. So meteorologists are looking at the radar and saying, okay, it looks like there's some rotation here. Or they are issued when there are eyes on the ground. They can see the tornado in front of them. They're a storm spotter and they're accredited in some way. Sometimes it's police or fire, and they let Environment and Climate Change Canada know, or there's video evidence of a tornado on the ground. So in this particular case, we're talking about radar indicated possible tornado. If that's the case and you are in these areas, you need to take shelter. You need to get into a place that is safe and secure. If you're in your home, that's a basement. If you don't have a basement, the lowest level, away from windows and doors, an interior room is always good. A closet, something like a bathroom, sometimes that's the best place to be, because there's only a small window. In a bathtub if you're extremely worried about this or it's coming close. And we don't encourage you to get out and take video of these. I know that a lot of people are storm chasers and this is what they do. If you are not a meteorologist, you're not a storm chaser, I know that it's fascinating and people love weather, but we are telling you that it's much better to be indoors, be in a safe spot. These storms have a lot of lightning on them as well, hail potentially, those heavy downpours too. This is not a great scenario to be not only outdoors but driving. It could be very dangerous on the road. So we're widespread warnings across the province right now. And again, I just wanted to say again, the tornado warnings: Goderich, Bluewater, Southern Huron County, Watford, Pinery Park, and Eastern Lambton County. If you are in any of these areas, be aware that you are currently under a tornado warning, and areas surrounding them, including the City of London, are under a severe thunderstorm warning. So severe thunderstorms, we've got an entire line of them moving across Lake Huron into this hot, humid air mass. We've got a lot of energy and a lot of instability. Temperatures feel like the 30s. In comes a front, and we're talking about pop-up storms that are moving very rapidly and dropping a lot of rain. But the big deal too with these is that there are powerful winds along with them. Tornado watch means that we've got conditions that are favorable for a tornado. A tornado warning, as I mentioned, either radar indicated or has been witnessed and is on video, or someone like a storm spotter lets us know that there is a tornado on the ground. I'm going to bring back Jesse Uppel, who's been following these storms on radar as they move in a line, really, and at such a fast pace. It's not like people have a ton of time to get indoors.
No, which is a good thing that Environment Canada has issued widespread tornado watches. Those watches have been in place all afternoon, which gave a lot of these communities plenty of time to have a plan in mind, have an action or take action immediately when it did come into place. When this line is now moving on shore, I mean, the forecast models did a great job at actually predicting this. I'll be very honest. Sometimes it's a hit or miss, especially when it comes to convection. Summer severe weather can pop up out of, thin air sometimes, because they're very hard to predict, some of these thunderstorms. They do happen very quickly. This line, it's projected and it's continuing to move at about 80 kilometers per hour. I want to actually overlay the lightning for you, because it's not only carrying that very dangerous wind threat, but also the lightning threat. Over 3,000 strikes of lightning along this line. And if I zoom into that actual tornado warning for you, which includes Goderich and areas right along that Highway 21 corridor, we start to see the heavy amounts of rain push in as well, with those thunderstorms that track just to the east-northeast at about 80 kilometers per hour, as I mentioned. If I zoom out here, there's other areas that we do need to pay attention to as well. Be on the lookout for areas up towards Wyerton, Owen Sound. If you're up towards the Bruce Peninsula doing any traveling, there's that line of storms that's crossing as we speak. It just pushed through Port Elgin and it continues to track closer to that Highway 8 corridor And our next area of focus, Kim, will shift a little bit further to the east, including the area of Markdale, Durham, parts of Shelburne as well. We can't forget that those areas are also under a tornado watch, and that's because conditions are ripe, they're favorable. As this line crosses through, there's a lot of shear within the environment, and when we talk about shear, we talk about the ability of storms to rotate in nature.
Okay, I have some good news and some bad news here, Jesse, just to interrupt you for a second. So severe thunderstorm warning now for Hanover, Dundalk, Southern Grey County, that area you were just pointing out. And then severe thunderstorm warning has ended for a few areas as well. So Strathroy, Kamoka, Western Middlesex County, London, which I was mentioning earlier was the biggest city that was under the severe thunderstorm warning, is now out of it. And Park Hill as well as Eastern Middlesex County. So severe thunderstorms have weakened or have moved out of that particular area. But again, if you're in the Hanover, Dundalk, or Southern Grey County regions, you are currently still under that severe thunderstorm warning. There's the low pressure system. This is the cold front moving through. Behind the warm front, all that heat continued to build. Unfortunately, as Jesse was mentioning before, even though we're seeing storms along this, and it's usually the leading edge of some cooler, fresher air, that's why we call it a cold front. That's what it literally means. It's the front of the cooler air. Despite the fact that it's moving through, we're not going to see temperatures drop a whole lot. We're going to continue to see temperatures in the high 20s, low 30s, and humidity as well. And for Thursday, our severe risk moves farther east, but we won't be completely done with storms in Ontario either on Thursday. Just keep that in mind. But most of that severe weather is happening right now, where we have tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings in Ontario. And again, hail, strong winds, lots of lightning on these storms, and heavy rain. Some of it very beneficial, but it could be problematic as well, Jesse.
And as you mentioned, that severe thunderstorm warning, it does shift a little bit further to our east. So if you are doing any traveling, as I mentioned, along Highway 6, Highway 10, I know we're getting really close, Kim, to that commute, that rush hour time frame. So a lot of areas a lot of people heading home from the office are unfortunately needing to get into their car and drive through this. Not recommended, especially with the amount of heavy rain coming down, the lightning, the visuals coming in as well. I know Mark has been very busy out in the field. He's further west of the city, closer to Grand Bend. We will loop him back in very shortly, but in the meantime, I'll actually give you a closer look at the radar because there's a lot of lightning activity tracking further inland, just east of Highway 21. Again, this line of storms continues to push just further to the east-northeast. I don't want to discount the ability of more storms to form over Lake Huron as well. There's been a lot of action further across Michigan. We're starting to see some other, some very small thunderstorms pop up over the lakes. Again, we're still dealing with the very hot, humid air mass, so that can't be completely ruled out. And then we'll also talk about the storms heading further north. If you are doing any traveling across Cottage Country, Algonquin Park, Parry Sound under a tornado watch, and then further north across Western Quebec, also under a severe thunderstorm warning. Mark is on standby, so let's loop him back in, get in.
There he is. I think he's having trouble hearing us, but we've got Mark standing out there. Okay, you got us. All right, you got us? Okay, no problem. Now
I can hear you now.
You've been actually experiencing this storm firsthand. Tell us how it feels out there.
Right now, we're in the inflow area of the storm, so we're still getting that hot, moist air moving into the storm. But that right back there, you can see that's the main wall cloud. And that's sort of where things are happening. You can see the guys are leaving now. We're going to have to get going to keep up with this because the main area of rotation is sort of passing beyond the trees over here. A lot of the lightning, though, is on the sort of the core of the storm, which is a little bit to my northeast at this point. So we're going to jump back in the car and continue to follow this. But this storm definitely a lot of rotation on it, and now we're just going to watch to see if this wall cloud begins to really get going. And if a tornado was to occur, that's where it's going to occur, probably just over the trees on the other side. So we're going to jump back in the car and get back to you as soon as we can.
Okay, Mark, great, thank you. I'm going to check in with Mark later. I want to talk to him about how it's so dangerous to storm chase in Ontario, Jesse, because of the roads, because of the population. I mean, if you're in the prairies in Saskatchewan, in your rural area, you can drive forever, you can see the storm forever, so, like kilometers in front of you, right?
Yeah, the trees, the terrain in parts of Ontario. We know we have a lot of those smaller mountains, if you will, not actual mountains, but from Hamilton, Kim, you know the Hamilton Mountain. There's rugged terrain. We have the escarpment as well. So there's a lot of things that are almost roadblocks when it comes to storm chasing in this province alone.
Yeah, it's hard to see where the storm is, and obviously if you're on roads and then there are other storm chasers out there, then traffic becomes an issue as well. So there's a lot of things to keep in mind, and this is one of the many reasons we're telling people to stay indoors with these storms, because they're vicious storms. We've got a big area of low pressure. We've got a lot of instability in the atmosphere, a lot of heat. This is what it looks like. So it's impacting a huge chunk of geography as it pushes east. And again, it's impacting the most populated area in the country. So southern Ontario and eventually into the GTA, millions of people potentially impacted. Not everyone will see a storm, but many will with this, because it's a line rather than pop-up storms. Jesse was mentioning earlier that, you know, a storm can pop up out of nowhere in the middle of the summer. You get daytime heating, you get these cumulus clouds starting to build, and all of a sudden you've got a storm. This is not that. This is very organized. It's a big area of low pressure. You could see it coming for days. It's been bringing severe weather across the west and finally moving into Ontario. So we saw this coming. We knew if all the ingredients and the timing worked out that it could be potentially a severe situation. Some areas already under a tornado watch, and Jesse was saying it was great that Environment and Climate Change Canada put that watch in early enough today to give people the heads up that this could happen. And so a watch, you know, gives people plenty of time to come up with a plan, make sure they're in the right place at the right time, stay close to home, number one.
Absolutely, Kim. And I mean, you brought up a really great point of this is really well forecasted. We saw this coming for days because of its organization. We're expecting more of a squall line, a more well-defined line of storms crossing further east as we head into the late evening, maybe the dinner hour, if you will. So pause this here in 1 hour's time from now, 6-7 p.m. That line continues to cross areas including London, Kitchener, Guelph, Waterloo, those areas further north across the Blue Mountain area. And then as we head closer to the dinner hour, 8 or 9 p.m., it continues to shift its way further eastward. And again, raising the concern for localized flooding, some large hail and some damaging wind gusts as well. You could see where those thunderstorms are oriented just on the west end of Lake Ontario, as well as further north. So if you're anywhere on the west end of the GTA, say Markham, Mississauga, Oakville, Burlington, Hamilton, down towards Simcoe, along the shorelines of Lake Erie, and even up along the 400 corridor, Barrie, Orillia, up towards King City, and even parts of Cottage Country. You do want to be aware of that. Around 8 or 9 p.m. That continues to cross portions of the GTA, Toronto proper, as well, bringing the risk of heavy amounts of rain and that wind threat. It's really once these storms become a bit more linear in nature is where we are more concerned about the wind threat, because that is ultimately the main thing we are concerned about as that line goes through later tonight.
You know, I get kind of worried too about stuff like that, because you wouldn't issue a tornado warning for linear storms. So people may not think of it as severe, but we all lived through that derecho across Ontario and Quebec. That was straight line winds. That was a linear storm, and it caused widespread damage. The only difference, of course, between a tornado and storms like that is the winds. And in a tornado, obviously, it's rotating. They can be very powerful, but so can straight line winds. You can still have wind gusts 120 kilometers per hour or more, potentially, and that can cause tree branches to come down, that can cause damage to your homes, that can knock out power as well. So with these storms, maybe now is the time to make sure everything's charged up, your cell phone, etc. If you lose your cell phone, you can always charge it in your car later if there's not a storm. But this is the time to be prepared. If you're in an area that is currently not under a severe thunderstorm warning or certainly a tornado warning, this is the time to be prepped because these storms are moving very quickly and could continue on into the night. Looks like we just saw some of those tornado warnings come to an end, just dropped right in front of me here. So Watford, Eastern Lambton County, Pinery Park now out of the tornado warning. So that's good news, but still Goderich and Southern Huron in the tornado warning. So that continues. Other areas drop. That's what we like to see, but we're still looking at these severe storms. It just means that they have moved on and are no longer impacting that particular area. So heavy rainfall, strong winds, that's going to be a big problem. Hail as well with these storms. And Jesse, you've shown us, I mean, the lightning strikes, so thousands
of lightning strikes. And Kim, it's very interesting to see the progression of this system. It's been very widespread across the entire province of Ontario. It's not only confined to the shorelines of Lake Huron as seen here, but it's also across our far north, which I want to actually zoom into a couple areas of interest for everyone. But there's a closer look at the actual tornado warned cell. As it pushes further to the northeast, we'll likely see this drop off in the next little while, I'd say. But again, we're still starting to see some severe thunderstorm warnings shift just outside of this region. Okay, so I mentioned a couple other areas of interest across the province. You can see how widespread and scattered this activity is. There's two defined lines, but there's also very isolated thunderstorms that are popping out ahead of the line and behind the actual cold front as well. So you can imagine the area of swirling low pressure, and I will actually just illustrate this for you just to give a better understanding of what's going on. There's the area of low pressure over the upper Great Lakes. There's an area, the actual boundary, and that's along this boundary there's been a lot of lightning being detected, not quite making it through the GTA as of yet, but there's also the secondary line bringing a lot of activity which originated over Michigan.
And sometimes the first line will take some of the energy out of the atmosphere, and the second line of storms is less powerful, but that doesn't always happen, right?
No, not always. And that's a great point, Kim, because sometimes when you get too much cloud cover with the first disturbance that moves through, that eliminates a lot of the destabilizing atmosphere. It eliminates a lot of your chances of getting severe weather in the later half of the afternoon. But if you're lucky enough, quote unquote, you do see pop-up thunderstorms in between a lot of this activity, which is exactly what we saw. There's another look at the visible satellite, a great tool that meteorologists use to display and kind of pinpoint exactly where storms are oriented, the cloud tops, and where these boundaries are actually where they actually are in place. And this just conveniently shows us the amount of lightning activity, the amount of lightning strikes that have been detected based off of data. And this is over 1,000 strikes of lightning just being reported. You can see a lot of lightning also being reported further across northeastern Ontario. I mentioned there's a lot of activity as well. If I just bring up some of the radar imagery, you could actually see how widespread this event is across Ontario.
And you know, North Bay has just been added into the severe thunderstorm warning. So North Bay, Powassan, Mattawa, the thunderstorm is located about 11 kilometers now northwest of Alexander Lake Forest Provincial Park, moving northeast at 55 kilometers per hour. So again, powerful winds associated with this storm. It's moving at 55K, but you could see winds gusting as high as 100 kilometers per hour potentially, and heavy rainfall again too. We're talking about lightning, as you were just pointing out, and hail could be problematic. Dorval Lodge area in Quebec now under a severe thunderstorm warning too. So Dorval, Val-d'Or is in there, Ville-Marie, Temiskaming, all of these areas currently under severe thunderstorm warning. So just on the other side of the Ontario border, we are seeing storms there. Obviously the storms aren't going to stop in Ontario. They're going to keep racing on through into Quebec as well. And there's another look at the lightning. Total strikes now we've got 1,831, but jumped up to over 3,000 in 1 hour. So this is, this is a line of dangerous storm. A lot of electricity in the atmosphere with this. And Jesse, you're talking about the fact that cloud cover means less severity with thunderstorms. And that's probably funny to people. Like, okay, clouds, storms, those two things go together, but it's sun and severe weather that go together. So if you're, if you're anticipating thunderstorms and you have a hot sunny day and that sun is beating down, you have to know that that leads to even worse storms potentially.
Yeah, it destabilizes our atmosphere because we know hot air naturally rises, Kim. And when we get the surface hotter than the air directly above it, that means, well, it spells trouble for an unstable atmosphere, which raises the concern for more cloud development and thunderstorm development. There's an overall look when you're talking about all the storms, Kim, across North Bay and up towards Val-d'Or. I was actually giving everyone at home a glimpse at the radar, and it looks quite isolated, quite nasty in nature, very messy. There's a large cluster of storms just along the Ontario Quebec border there. There's also, of note, another secondary line that's going across northeastern Ontario, just north of Georgian Bay as well. They are currently under a severe thunderstorm watch, but again, a cluster of storms bringing heavy amounts of rain and lightning being detected in that area as well. So it just goes to show how widespread this severe weather day is across the entire province of Ontario.
It's incredible. But some good news now, though, Jesse. I just got handed this. The tornado warning has come to an end for Goderich, Bluewater, Southern Huron County. It has been replaced, however, with a severe thunderstorm warning. So it doesn't mean you're completely out of the woods, but it does mean that the tornado warning has ended. So currently, there are no tornado warnings in place in Ontario or Quebec. So that's some good news. Certainly we do have a lot of juicy thunderstorms that continue to make their way east across the province and into Quebec as well. And it's still a dangerous situation. Obviously, any severe thunderstorm can be potentially dangerous, but it's good to know, Jesse, that the tornado warnings have now come to an end.
Absolutely. I did mention off the top that we can't rule out the chance of more developing thunderstorms over Lake Huron, which I'm already starting to see pop up, unfortunately. They are moving quite slowly. I will highlight a couple for you here that are originating off of Michigan. They will continue to track further east over Lake Huron. Just something to watch out for, whether or not these storms survive or not over the next hour or so. Kind of tricky to pinpoint right now, but our main focus, again, is going to be this line of thunderstorms along the Huron shorelines continuing to track further inland. So around 6 to 7 p.m. local time, we'll continue to see these drift further to the east, entering portions of the escarpment, so very densely populated areas, Kim, just in time for the rush hour commute. So we'll be dealing with heavy amounts of rain, lots of lightning, and potentially some large hail as well embedded within these storms.
You know, it's funny, we see things repeated over and over. This is not an unusual scenario for Ontario, and you get your Facebook memories, and I had one pop up yesterday, almost the exact same thing. It feels like 41. You've got a line of thunderstorms that will be impacting Ontario. It looked like exactly the same setup, a front moving across, and again, severe thunderstorm warnings that day as well, 2 years ago. I don't know, do we remember 2020? Some of us do. Okay, so we've got widespread rain, thunder, lightning on these storms, powerful winds too. Usually nightfall is our friend when it comes to these storms. It usually means they tend to weaken, they lose their severity, but sometimes they can hang on, Jesse.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because we've been holding on to such a humid air mass over the last several days, actually, it's been a stretch of very uncomfortable heat across the southern Great Lakes, Kim. So we're really adding fuel to the fire. We have enough within the unstable air mass, enough of an unstable air mass to work with as we head into this evening and overnight. And we know we're no strangers to overnight nocturnal storms across the region, across all of Canada, actually. We also, I will mention once again, we have widespread severe thunderstorm watches in place, which blanket pretty much all of the GTA, the Golden Horseshoe, so the city of Toronto up towards Hamilton, St. Catharines, Niagara, further east along the 401 corridor as well, which means conditions are going to be favorable for the development of thunderstorms in the coming hours, Kim. And I will time out for everyone at home watching, because I know everyone wants to know, when are the storms going to hit my area?
Right.
This is one computer model I will mentioned. So this doesn't actually mean it's going to happen 100% guaranteed, but it gives a great representation as to what the atmosphere is expected to do, how it's expected to behave. And if I do highlight one area here, this area right along crossing areas of the 400 up towards Barrie, Orillia, Collingwood area down towards Orangeville, Kitchener, Waterloo, London, essentially right along the escarpment around that 6 to 7 o'clock hour. That is when we're expecting that line to become a bit more intense, a bit more linear in nature, which raises the concern for a damaging wind threat. And then if you are located just along the west end of Lake Ontario through the GTA, we're expecting that line of storms to enter the region at around 8 or 9 p.m. Now we're going to bring back in Mark Robinson, Kim, because he's out. He has changed his location. So we're going to get all the details from Mark right now.
Yeah, I'm actually in a small town, Dashwood. We were following this storm. This storm you can see behind me was the one that was tornado warned. But one thing I want to note right now is notice how there's no lightning? This storm has lost some of its oomph. So we're watching this one right now, but taking a look at a couple more cells off to the west. They're still in Michigan. Those ones also have rotation on it. There's also the cells up much closer to Goderich. Those cells have had some really strong winds and rain, and I can even see some potential hail on there. So we're all just sort of hitting, if you come over here, you can actually see everybody sort of trying to figure stuff out. We're trying to figure out where we want to go. Do we stay here for a little while and let the other storms, which definitely do have rotation, come towards us, or do we continue following this one? Right now, my inclination is to stay here and watch those cells that are coming out of Michigan towards this area. But either way, these storms have been quite strong so far and definitely been tornado warned. Now we're just sort of watching and waiting to see what these storms are going to do.
It doesn't feel, or it doesn't look like it's particularly windy where you are, Mark. It's almost eerie.
Yeah, you know what, Kim, you're right. I didn't even notice that myself. You're right. The wind has just dropped right off. And that may be because we're still sort of within the environment that this storm over here has sort of produced. And we're sort of waiting for the next ones to come through. The winds are still coming from the south, which says the front hasn't crossed us yet. Once that front crosses, you'll see the winds shift around. There is a little bit of wind still coming from the south. Because if I look way over there, you're not going to be able to look over there easily. Well, Dave's going to try. There's a bunch of the wind turbines which are still pointed towards the south. We still are getting that south wind, but not as much of it as we had earlier today.
There's that Dave Hodge doing great work out in the field. Thanks, Mark. I know you're going to continue to follow these storms, and hopefully it doesn't get too bad for you. But I know you know where you're supposed to go. That's our storm hunter, Mark Robinson, showing us the skies in southwestern Ontario. In northeastern Ontario, some good news. North Bay, Powassan, and Mattawa are now out of the severe thunderstorm warning. So those areas, I'm glowing in here, Jesse. I'm inside. We have air conditioning, and I'm feeling the humidity, which is hilarious, but just it just shows you how hot it is outside. I feel like if I went outside right now, it would be up to here, but
like a blow dryer.
A blow dryer.
It's been like a blow dryer outside. It's been very difficult to do outdoor activities if you don't have a pool, if you don't have some sort of way to stay cool outside. Walking a dog has just become an absolute chore for a lot of us in southern Ontario because it's been so incredibly hot, Kim, for the past several days. You did mention the fact of air conditioning. Now, we have air conditioning, believe it or not, in the studio, but that just brought to you just brought it to my attention, the concern for power outages tonight. As well as the uncomfortable warm temperatures through the overnight as well. So maybe have a plan in mind, maybe have a way to cool off in case you do have power outages as this line of storms goes through tonight. I wouldn't rule out some power outages locally because, again, we're expecting some very strong wind gusts. And we're expecting strong wind gusts because we're expecting these storms to almost form a squall line, if you will. And once we're dealing with more of a linear storm pattern, we're dealing with the damaging wind threat. That is certainly going to be a concern for many of us through the GTA, through the escarpment, just west of the Golden Horseshoe as well. That's exactly when we're expecting this line to really form and cross the region. There's a closer look at what's happening across cottage country. We've been closely monitoring the area of Parry Sound, Algonquin Park, along Highway 11 as well. Tornado watches remain in place for that area. Up towards North Bay, we previously had, or not too long ago, had a severe thunderstorm warning. That has now dropped off, but it does shift across portions of western Quebec. Another area that we actually saw some heavy downpours out of was near Elliott Lake across northern Ontario along Highway 17. We did again have a severe thunderstorm warning in that area. It has since dropped off, but we're still dealing with a lot of lightning activity, heavy amounts of rain shifting ever so slightly to the east. Again, these storms are moving relatively quickly, but they are quite widespread in nature if you do take a look at the radar. And that's the update on the Huron shoreline. Still widespread severe thunderstorm warnings in place, blanket portions of Port Elgin, Kincardine, out towards Goderich as well. The area where Mark Robinson is or has been chasing around. And we'll continue to monitor that area, Kim. I'm not sure if you have any visuals. I know everyone loves to send in their storm photos when active weather rolls into their region. And we also love to share them.
Yeah, you know, I'm just stealing this right off of Twitter. That's what I'm doing. Whether they send it to me or not, I'm just going to take it. David Piano, who loves to go out storm chasing in southern Ontario, posted this. Just witnessed the best LP supercell. I'm going to think that's low pressure supercell structure I've ever seen in Ontario near Crediton. Corkscrew chucking CGs next to us. Wow, so he's outside. He's excited about this as well. I know that he's very... what is the word? I want to educated in the form of weather, and he knows what he's doing and he knows what he's talking about. He's very active on weather Twitter, and here he is showing us the skies in southern Ontario. So this is South Huron, where we did have earlier a tornado warning. And here's Dave Sills on the tornado warned storm south of Grand Bend. Continuous thunder, nice wall cloud, and rising scud. Sure seems to be trying. Yes, it does. Dave Sills, another weather expert, of course, showing us the skies in the area that our storm hunter Mark Robinson was in as well. So those who knew where the storms were coming and certainly where the rotation was, they had potential, were on it and taking photos. And again, these are people who have expertise in weather and in storm chasing. So again, if you do not, you don't want to get near storms like this because they can change on a dime. And Ontario is a very difficult place to storm chase because, Jesse, we know the terrain is not ideal.
It definitely is not. It's a beautiful country. It's a beautiful country that we live in, a beautiful province, lots of hidden gems. But again, it's very difficult to navigate when you are dealing with severe weather, whether you're in a vehicle, whether you're just on foot, which is why it's so important to stay alert, stay up to date with your alerts issued by Environment Canada when it comes to severe weather. You know, it's also dangerous, the heat. It's been prolonged across Ontario. The hot, dry, humid conditions, they continue, which is why I want to raise the concern of heat warnings, which continue to be in place for all of, for much of southern Ontario, as well as the Ottawa region. There's a look at your temperatures for tomorrow. Again, they're not really budging from where they were today. Maybe a few degrees cooler, so we're just close to that 30-degree mark, but it's still incredibly humid, and it's that cold front that's really not providing much of relief. I've highlighted two lines for you here where that swirling area of low pressure is oriented across the upper Great Lakes. It's been sparking a lot of lightning, a lot of electricity within the sky, and it's been grabbing onto a whole lot of moisture, which is why we've been seeing heavy amounts of rain being reported locally within these thunderstorms. Again, not everyone saw a thunderstorm or will see a thunderstorm, but the conditions are certainly out on the table for us. There's a wide look at the alerts in place. Actually, I just saw a new severe thunderstorm warning pop up.
Yep, I got it for Listowel, Milverton, Northern Perth County, Mount Forest, Arthur, and Northern Wellington County. Wingham, Blythe, Northern Huron County, all currently under the severe thunderstorm warning. I wonder, Jesse, if you can just search around there while we're showing this radar for the overnight temperatures tonight, because I know a lot of people who, if they don't have AC, it's very difficult for sleeping. Even if you open your windows, you have a tough time. You know, people have fans in their home, but sometimes that doesn't do the trick. So overnight temperatures are often what leads to heat alerts as well, or heat warnings, because not only is it hot during the day, but it doesn't cool down at night. And when we have this steadiness of heat and humidity, it starts to get obviously not only uncomfortable but very dangerous as well. Please stay hydrated in these kinds of conditions. There's the front moving through. We're going to see all the way along as this progresses into Quebec through Thursday that the potential for severe weather continues. We do have a risk map for tomorrow. This is not a watch or a warning, just showing you where severe weather may pop up. And again, 1 or 2 tornadoes is possible. We can see the Saguenay and Quebec City are in that area of potentially severe weather. And as you were pointing out too, Jesse, the temperatures are just not cooling down a whole lot, despite the fact that we have a cold front. That's usually what we look to when we're talking about dropping temperatures, and it's just not happening this time around.
Yeah, just not happening. I mean, Environment Canada has issued heat warnings. They've been in place for quite some time. And what goes hand in hand with the heat warnings is often the overnight lows. They're very warm, they're uncomfortable. They're close to that 20-degree mark through the GTA tonight, Kim. So again, this actually shows the risk of showers and thunderstorms just tracking to our east. So across Cottage Country, southeastern Ontario, Bancroft, Kingston, out towards the Ottawa Valley, you're still hanging on to that severe weather threat through the overnight tonight. We're still warm, we're still uncomfortable. Again, tomorrow, another day of feeling into the mid to upper 30s across much of Ontario and southern Quebec. And again, like you mentioned, we'll be tracking the risk of severe weather as we head tomorrow. That just shifts a little bit further to the east tomorrow.
Severe thunderstorm warnings have now ended for the Goderich, Bluewater, and southern Huron County area. So that's good news. This was under a tornado warning and then a severe thunderstorm warning, and now no severe thunderstorm warning at all for the area. But again, we're expecting another round of storms to follow the ones that we have just seen. So it's not over yet. These storms continue to track east into the GTA. There's the front itself. And again, a whole line of storms that include hail, powerful winds, heavy downpours, all with this, and lightning strikes too. So lightning, no matter what, whether the storm is considered, you know, your garden variety thunderstorm or a severe thunderstorm or tornado, lightning is going to be a potential danger and perhaps the most dangerous element of the storm.
Yeah, it's a great point, Kim. I was just looking at some of the development off of Lake Huron, because we did mention we can't rule out that chance of further development after this line goes through. Mark also mentioned this is not the actual cold front that's going through. We're still dealing with more of a southerly wind, which indicates, yes, that cold front has certainly not gone through that area. There's a couple of cells here, which I'll highlight for you, originating over Michigan. They're tracking over Lake Huron. There's even a couple of cells, some baby thunderstorms popping up just along the shorelines of Lake Huron once again. Whether or not those materialize into something severe, we'll keep a lookout on those for you. In the meantime, Kim, you mentioned there's more severe thunderstorm warnings further into portions of the Grey Bruce area, Grey Bruce County, areas along Highway 6 towards Markdale, Hanover, and the Dundalk Highlands. So we'll still keep a close eye out on this area for you, because that line of storms, the same line that is under a tornado watch, continues to stretch its way a little bit further to the east. And again, we can't forget out ahead of it, including much of the GTA, we are still under a severe thunderstorm watch.
Our warning has ended now for the Saugeen Shores, Kincardine, and southern Bruce County, but new now for Owen Sound, Blue Mountains, and northern Grey County. They're in it. So I just want to show you a couple of tweets. Some are from our very own storm hunter, Mark Robinson. This one saying wall cloud has lost some of its definition, now near Dashwood, Ontario. So dash cam, Dashwood, there we go. We can see the cloud over Dashwood. This is just a little while ago at about 5:28. So maybe about 15 minutes ago or so, he tweeted this one. And I think we've got another one here from Mark as well. Beautiful anvil to our west in Dashwood now. And there he is showing us what looks almost like a flying saucer. The anvil cloud over over Dashwood, and you can see the blue skies behind it, which makes it even that much more dramatic. I think we have a couple more tweets as well, not from Mark, but from other people. Kyle Woods, he's in Dashwood as well. See, that's the thing with storm chasers; they'll go to the same spot because they know where the storms are going to be and where the most dramatic weather is going to be. So there he is, and there's the tweet of the sky. And Kaylin Duke, winds picking up on Georgian Bay. So he's near the water there. And we can see that the trees are swaying in the winds. And of course, that can become a dangerous situation real quick if the winds pick up and suddenly branches are coming down. Certainly, you don't want to be under a tree when lightning strikes. We often hear these stories about people being under a tree and being struck by lightning, or lightning strikes nearby. And you're like, well, why would you run under a tree? People run under trees because it's pouring rain and they're going for some shelter. And if they don't have their car nearby, that's what people think first of all. Oh, I better get some shelter from this rain, and that's the worst place they can be, Jesse.
Yeah, that's so true. And we talk a lot about tornado safety as well, Kim, because it's not every day that you are under a tornado threat per se, and today is definitely that day across southern Ontario, across the southern Great Lakes. It doesn't happen too often. You don't normally get widespread tornado watches or warnings being issued across this region, but today is certainly a day. Conditions are ripe. They're favorable for the development of severe storms, which will show you exactly on radar where those storms are oriented, where they're expected to track. There's that line again, as Kim mentioned. A lot of the severe thunderstorm warnings are being dropped off along Highway 21, but they're being issued further inland, further just to the east. And we will continue to track these for you. I do want to mention anywhere where you're seeing highlighted in the purples or the brighter fuchsias on your screen indicate not only heavy amounts of rain, but also they're indicating the hail threat. And that's something that we will closely monitor as we head into the next coming hours, especially as this line becomes a bit more pronounced and it tracks further to the east. So again, we're really keeping a close eye out on the heavy rain potential, the hail potential, and damaging winds as well.
I have another tweet for you here. Alicia Mill on Twitter. She's showing us almost looks like a rotating storm here. A little bit of a funnel coming down. She says it's been trying. #OnStorm. Great looking sky. Great looking video. However, we really want you to, if you're tweeting, a #OnStorm is a great way to let us know what's going on and a good way to find your tweets. But we also would love if you included location. That would be great. I'm not sure where Alicia is. Cool video. Not sure where you are, like a location and a time too. A time would be great. We can see the time of the tweet, but sometimes it's good to know what time a storm or the storm video was taken. After saying all that, I am not encouraging you to get out in these storms, especially if you're under severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning. But if you're at home and you get a storm video and you're tweeting it, or you want to send it to us and you want to share it with other people, show us what's happening where you are, maybe damage after the fact, and you shoot a video of that. Yeah, just give us as many details as possible so that when we share the information, we'll know exactly what we're talking about and where this is happening. So we appreciate your videos and your pictures, but again, stay safe when you do it, and be specific.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. Kim, that was such an awesome time lapse. You could tell how much rotation is actually within the atmosphere just looking at that video, that funnel cloud really trying to take shape, really trying to form. And when we talk about the potential of tornadoes or rotation, we talk about severe thunderstorms or supercells. We talk a lot about this on the Weather Network, and I do want to set the record straight for a lot of us watching. What are supercells? Because I know a lot of us, we get a bit carried away with these terms, these scientific terms. But overall, supercells are types of thunderstorms. They're very violent in nature. They're very powerful, and they often carry very strong updrafts. What's an updraft? It essentially means airflow from the ground up to the cloud and we start to see that air circulate, and it allows for that thunderstorm to grow and become a bit more intense in nature as that air continues to flow. And you need a lot of strong energy, you need a lot of strong vertical motion within the atmosphere, and that is certainly in the forecast for today for many of us across the Huron shorelines. What I'm showing you is a model that indicates supercell potential, and you could see highlighted in the yellows or the brighter hues of blue on your screen. That indicates supercell potential, and it's certainly there. That's where we're actually seeing a lot of the tornado watches being issued, which is quite interesting. That lines up very nicely with the threat there, with the ingredients. As I mentioned, the atmosphere is certainly primed, and the conditions are certainly favorable for the development of those storms, which we've already seen push through many areas along Highway 21, along the Huron shorelines. We're continuing to track that line of storms as it heads just to the east, but I do want to actually give you a wider look, because not all of us are in parts of southwestern Ontario. Some of us are across the northern shorelines of Georgian Bay, which we've already seen just east of Sault Ste. Marie towards Elliott Lake, Sudbury, North Bay. Intense thunderstorms also push through that area.
I see that. I just want to jump in just for a sec here, because I see Parry Sound just about to get hit on that radar, and we've got a tweet to go along with it, a video from Liam Leclerc saying starting to hear thunder and get heavy rain in Parry Sound. That was at 5:50, so he just tweeted it. And it just happened about 2 minutes ago, and it just lines up perfectly with the radar that you've been showing, Jesse. So let's bring that back up. I know you got Parry Sound on there in northeastern Ontario, just at the very top of the screen. There it is. Yeah. So there's Parry Sound, the tweet coming in from Liam Leclerc, everything kind of working out as planned. So that's what it looks like from radar. This is what it looks like from Liam's home. And again, looks like he's safe inside, doing this from a window, which is always good as well. When you're not under a tornado warning, of course, I always say stay away from the windows, but it looks like Liam's nice and safe and indoors and has taken shelter as the rain moves in.
Yeah, darkening skies. Not a lot of lightning, actually, Kim. I'm just trying to take a closer look at radar. Not a whole lot of lightning. A lot of that lightning activity is held off across Georgian Bay. But again, we don't want to disregard the fact that that entire region east of Georgian Bay is under a tornado watch. So you do want to take that seriously. That cluster of storms continues to move onshore, so we'll continue to time that out for you as well. And we always appreciate the visuals. If it's safe to do so, please send those in, because it gives everyone, especially storm chasers and meteorologists, a better indication as to what is actually happening, because radar can only capture X amount of things happening within the atmosphere. So that's just one tool that we love to use. Another area of interest out towards Owen Sound along Highway 26. If you are doing any traveling towards Collingwood, the Blue Mountains, you do want to be aware of this line of storms bringing lots of lightning, large hail, as well as strong wind gusts to that area within the next 30 minutes or so, I'd say.
We have a couple more tweets to show as well. I know you're talking about what the radar can pick up. People's cameras, they're picking up other things too. And this shows beautiful anvils from the new storm cells over in London. This is looking southwest from the west end of Kitchener. Weather can showing us the skies there. And I believe we have another one. Is this the, oh, here it is. So south of Chatham, look at this. We can see the blue sky pans over into the cloud cover. Who's sending this tweet? Can we just put it down? Oh yeah, so I love that. Graham Cracker Central at Connor M's showing us the sky over Chatham in southwestern Ontario. And yes, when you see a sky like that, you want to get indoors. It's always cool to see it across a lake when you have nothing impeding your visual of the storm. So you can be on the shore, Jesse, and you can look out and you can see it coming. You got plenty of warning. It's when you're in, say, a city in downtown and you can't really see where storms are coming from. The sky might be darkening, but you don't know which way things are moving.
Very tricky, Kim, especially for all of us living in condo buildings or densely populated areas. You see cranes in the sky, you see other buildings and shopping centers. It's very hard to pinpoint exactly where a storm is, and if whether or not it's heading your way. So this is exactly why you want to take all of your alerts on your smartphones, on your devices, on your television very seriously, because they're issued for a reason, because conditions are favorable for the development of thunderstorms. As we mentioned off the top, we've been dealing with a lot of hot, humid air as of lately, actually, for the last several days across Ontario, which has fed into this severe weather day across southern Ontario. Now, it's not every day, Kim, that we see widespread tornado watches being issued. So I do want to go over what exactly is a tornado watch, because I already have some family members and some close friends that are not exactly sure of what exactly a tornado watch is, or a warning, and what to do if you are under one.
Yeah, it's so true. People get a little mixed up with what's more severe, a watch or a warning. So it's always a watch. A watch is less severe. So let's start with that. Tornado watch means that conditions are favorable for the development of severe storms with one or more tornadoes. That's why a tornado watch was issued early in the day. The forecast called for all the ingredients for potential rotation or potential supercells. A warning means that the tornado has been radar indicated. So forecasters, meteorologists have been looking at the radar and saying, okay, right there, that looks like there's some rotation on the storm. That could be a tornado. Another way a tornado warning might be issued is if somebody actually sees the tornado. There's video evidence or photo evidence of it, or someone like a trained storm spotter sees it, someone like a police officer or a firefighter. It can't just be anyone calling and saying, I saw a tornado. Environment Canada won't just immediately issue a tornado warning in that circumstance, but if there's a lot of proof of this, they will. So again, a watch means heads up, a warning means heads down. You got to get inside and take shelter.
That's great. That's a great heads up, Kim. Great educational point there for a lot of us that are not aware, because it doesn't happen too often in this part of the country. I do want to bring it to radar really quickly, because we've been talking a lot about this back and forth, whether or not storms will develop and hit areas that already saw thunderstorms, but it looks like this line of storms really got going. I'll highlight a couple for you. This is that batch of storms originating from Michigan, tracking over Lake Huron, as well as just across the extreme southern shoreline. So again, this is an area where Mark is oriented. He was watching out for further development over Lake Huron, and that's exactly what's happening. We're starting to see another set of storms move onshore, impacting some of the areas that already got hit. For instance, some areas that already got hit, like Goderich, Bayfield, out towards Grand Bend, along Highway 21, that were previously under a tornado warning. So we'll watch out for that batch of storms. It looks like another set of storms will likely just scrape the Sarnia area. And whether or not the area across extreme southwestern Ontario, like Windsor, Chatham, that area gets another dose of storms, we'll have to keep a close eye out on for that, as well as just further to the north over the Bruce Peninsula. There's still some activity over the lake, so we're not completely out of the woods in that area as of yet. And again, I do want to mention we're still under a tornado watch in many of these areas.
I have a few more tweets to show you as well. I've got Marta working hard behind the scenes here, going through Twitter and finding some good stuff. Chris Godwin, on to the next one. This is the cell just west of Sarnia. This was taken just a short while ago. Would you say about 5:30 or so? 5:53, sorry, so just moments ago, about 6 minutes ago or so, showing the skies in southwestern Ontario over Sarnia. On to the next one. I guess Chris is off. Storm chasing. Aaron Carroll, end of Cameron Street, Bayfield, looking at the lake and back east towards Highway 21. Hashtag on storm. Of course, Bayfield again on the shores of Lake Huron and showing the ominous looking sky, the clouds over Huron. Of course, so many of these areas had been warned. This was at 5:53 as well. A lot of people just, immediately shooting and tweeting, which is fantastic. We get to see where these storms are, what they look like from the ground. Again, don't do anything that might put you in jeopardy. We appreciate your eyes on this. You're witnessing these storms, hopefully in the distance. It makes our job a lot easier. It makes the storytelling better as well, because we get to show people what's happening. And Travis, South Huron, Ontario, 5:48 p.m. So again, he's telling us where, what time, which is exactly what my shout out was, and I really appreciate that. Then there's a close-up look at it, and we can see a bit of a scud, so we get a little bit of a funnel coming down, almost touching the ground there. So showing again these storms building, these cumulonimbus clouds, and then how much they are lowering as well. Jesse, I'm sure you've got some opinion on this particular photo.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. Actually, a lot of the photos that you just showed, Kim, were all what I was showing on radar, those storms popping up over Lake Huron. They actually develop fairly quickly, and they're tracking very quickly, moving onshore. We're already starting to see a set of those storms, Kim, move onshore just north of Goderich. So again, that area up towards Lucknow, Wingham are under a severe thunderstorm warning. And I'll show you exactly where those storms are. You can see the arrows I've indicated here of exactly where those storms are tracking, just to the north-northeast, or east-northeast rather. And again, areas like Bayfield, where we saw images coming out on Twitter of that crazy, the beautiful cloud cover and shelf cloud is in fact this storm developing off of Lake Huron. So we'll continue to watch that. It's very neat to see some visuals and pair that with radar and actually match exactly what has been going on and what continues to go on.
Yeah, I agree. I can't believe it. You know, like the fact that these are all coming in just at the exact time that you're showing the radar, showing what the cells look like over the water. And we're jumping in again with the sky near Exeter, Ontario. Carlos tweeted this out. And again, similar area. Southwestern Ontario, showing the skies darkening there. And it's always dramatic when you get a little bit of blue sky to counteract what's happening as the clouds darken. And yeah, these storms can be very dangerous. As mentioned, if you're hearing thunder, we want you to be inside. We want you to be away from any potential lightning on these storms. You know, I go back and forth between saying, you know, fabulous images. We appreciate the information you're giving us from outside. We are counting on the fact that people are keeping safe as possible, especially those who are out storm chasing. You need to know a lot about the weather and a lot about how these kinds of storms are formed, which way they move, and certainly if there's any potential for a tornado that you would be getting to safety, because things can get very dangerous in a hurry. And at the same time, you know, we appreciate seeing what's happening on the ground and not just from radar, Jesse. It's quite the balance that we have to take with these storms.
It absolutely is, especially when it comes to storms carrying that tornadic threat. It's very difficult to really pinpoint based off of radar alone whether or not we have a tornado, especially when we have a tornado on the ground. Those are often dictated by storm chasers out on the field when we have a touchdown. There's a closer look at the radar. Again, we're still dealing with several tornado watches blanketing areas along the Huron shorelines up towards Georgian Bay. I bring you to portions of the Grey Bruce County area, Highway 26, Highway 6, Highway 10, the Dundalk Highlands up towards Collingwood as well. We have a cluster of storms moving through there. Main threats with these storms are nickel-sized hail, heavy amounts of rain, and some lightning. I'll throw in the lightning for you just to give a better perspective. A few hundred strikes of lightning within this area alone, based off of data. And again, we're starting to see these clusters of storms move a little bit further to the east as expected. We're still waiting for the more well-defined line to form and cross areas closer to the GTA. Again, that'll come in a couple hours from now. I'd say around 8 p.m. local time is when we're really starting to focus in on that line of storms bringing the damaging wind threat to areas across the western edge of Lake Ontario as well as the GTA.
If you're in other parts of the country and you're watching this, the areas that we're showing right now, a lot of them are not highly populated areas, not just yet. A lot of rural areas that we're looking at here, cottage country, places people may go in the summertime, camping, for example, anywhere along the shores of Lake Huron. Beautiful spot to be during the summer months because it's one of the most gorgeous beaches in the province, if not in the country. So yeah, so keep that in mind. Right now, these storms are going through relatively low populated areas, with the exceptions of places like North Bay that have seen storm warnings. Same thing with London. Those would be the bigger cities. Windsor a little bit earlier on. But once these storms start to move into Kitchener-Waterloo, certainly Toronto, Mississauga, Oakville, Brampton. These are areas that are highly populated, and the people on the roads, people driving, will be much higher. Now, I'm hoping now that most people will be on their way home, that they will be avoiding the biggest of these storms, that they'll be safe in their homes when these storms go through. The later they move in, Jesse, the better it is, really.
Yeah, I would hope so. Hopefully everyone has a plan to stay indoors later tonight. Maybe they have a small window of opportunity to tie in any balcony furniture or any plants that they left outdoors. I know I brought everything indoors right before I came to work today because I knew that, you know, it's going to be a nasty wind event later tonight, and it might be a little bit too late once I get home. So let's time out these storms for everyone watching. We all want to know exactly where or who is going to get hit when. Let's fast forward this into the next hour, around 7 p.m. That's where that line and the scattered activity continues to shift its way further to the east. Can't rule out the chance of maybe a pop-up thunderstorm or heavy downpour into the GTA before this actual line comes through. Which I do want to highlight for you. This model is actually picking up on a little bit of convection just across the west end of Lake Ontario within the next hour or so. So we can't completely rule out that threat there. So again, eyes to the sky. You do want to be weather aware. We are under a severe thunderstorm watch in that region. We fast forward this into 8 p.m. Things get a bit more interesting, especially as you head further to the east, entering the Hamilton area, the Simcoe area along the Huron shore, the Erie shorelines. And then we take this back into 9 or 10 p.m. Areas like Kitchener, Orangeville, up towards Shelburne, Barrie along the 400 corridor. Those areas likely to get into that line of very heavy rainfall as well. And then we take this into 10 or 11 p.m. We're likely going to be seeing that line track through the GTA, past just to the east of us along the 401 corridor. So if, again, a well-traveled highway out towards Oshawa, Ajax, Cobourg, up towards Peterborough as well. We're still hanging on to that severe weather threat closer to the midnight hour. So again, although a lot of the storm energy fizzles out after we lose the peak sunlight, the peak daytime heating, we're still holding on to that trigger within the atmosphere, which is in fact that line of very nasty storms, Kim.
Mark has sent us a note saying that he is going back for round 2, and that's that second line of storms that you've been pointing out, Jesse. He says these cells are going to be the main show, so he's anticipated them to be the more severe of the storms to come, and he says stay tuned. We'll be live with him soon. I also wanted to mention this tweet, which came from my brother, as a matter of fact. And Marta just dug up near Palmerston, looking northwest at 6:05. So this is in North Perth County. This just came in a couple of minutes ago, and look at that sky. So we've got some lowering here as well, Jesse.
Wow, it's absolutely beautiful. I love that your brother is really on his weather, on his weather game.
He is very much on his weather game. Yes, and he likes to get out in these storms, and he's also, very much trained in driving in situations like this one.
Awesome. That area is in fact under a severe thunderstorm warning. We've had a cluster of storms go through earlier, but we're also keeping an eye out on, as you know, the development of another line back here. So that's one area of focus. We've already seen a lot of visuals come in over social media, over Twitter from storm chasers, which we really appreciate. So we're actually seeing a lot of development over Lake Huron, tracking onshore again, impacting a lot of the areas that already saw that first initial line of severe thunderstorms. We're actually also looking at the southern extent of Lake Huron. There's a lot of activity there. This all formed over the state of Michigan, and it continues to really maintain its strength as it crosses portions of the international border there. So just grazing areas north of Sarnia, along Highway 21, we'll likely start to see the return of active weather through the Grand Bend area, which is very interesting because they were in fact under a tornado warning not too long ago.
Yeah, and you know, this severe thunderstorm warning for the Hanover Owen Sound area is talking about this particular storm being 5 kilometers north of Zion and moving east at 75 kilometers per hour with 90 kilometer per hour wind gusts. The areas impacted will include Markdale, Feversham, Flesherton, Kimberley, and Eugenia. And we have this tweet, and I was mentioning the fact that we have a lot of small towns, a lot of rural communities being impacted by these storms initially in Western Ontario, because some of these names I'm not particularly familiar with, and I've been in this game a very long time, Jesse. Here's one, Gowanstown. So looking north from Gowanstown, we're looking again at that same storm. Aidan Stevens showing us again a storm that is looks like it's almost touching the ground. We're going to bring it up a little bit clearer here for you. And again, this is what a lot of people are witnessing. And also you can see that it's in a field, or we're looking across a field, which is typical for this part of the province. Lots of farms, lots of rural areas. It's not highly populated, probably a good place to see a storm if you can see one from very far away and you can be in a safe location. Not bad, but if these storms really ramp up, this is not great for farms. The rain, sure, we can use it, but other things may be damaging for crops.
Yeah, it's a very good point that you brought up, Kim. Actually, I have this cell on radar that was just pushed in, or that was just illustrated there on Twitter for everyone, pushing through Markdale area, tracking further to the east. There's a lot of activity in this area, actually. So if I just zoom out, there's another cell heading towards Mount Forest. Again, that's severe thunderstorm warned as well. A lot of heavy rain, maybe even some nickel-sized hail being reported within that thunderstorm as well as it tracks further to the east. You mentioned, Kim, 75, 80 kilometers per hour. That's where that's how quickly these cells are moving. So relatively quick. It's hard to take action. So if you are outdoors, not recommended actually, because it's going to be very tough to actually find shelter once you're stuck out in this, which is one reason why we say it's so important to remain weather aware. There's another line of storms already pushing onshore, impacting areas really close to Goderich, just to the north. So imagine areas along that Highway 21 stretch out towards Lucknow. And then another batch of storms heading towards the Grand Bend area anytime now. And we'll likely see a lot of visuals, maybe the leading edge of a shelf cloud in that area, which will be very interesting to look out for. And then out towards the Sarnia area, there's a lot of storms originating over Michigan that will likely maintain their strength and cross the Ontario and Michigan border anytime soon.
Yeah, they're just never ending. They're just this marching along here, one row after another of severe weather. This is another reason why we talk about having your cell phone charged, that you have good cell service. That's difficult sometimes in more rural areas, because your cell phone is where you're likely going to get your alerts. So whether it's a severe thunderstorm warning or if it's a tornado warning, if you have the app, if you have your cell phone, then you're going to be aware of it sooner than later. And it's a good, it's a good note that the tornado watch was issued so early. Same thing with the severe thunderstorm watch. So a watch gives you the heads up. You've got time, but the conditions are favorable for storms to develop. But this is your time to plan, to get ready. And hopefully, if you've been paying attention to the Weather Network the last couple of days, we've watched this come. We've been giving you the heads up that this could potentially be a severe weather day. It has certainly come to fruition. A lot of heat. People usually noticed I'm just going to grab this piece of paper, notice in heat and humidity that change is going to come, right? That a front is going to move in. We're likely going to see some storms. So this one is, okay, this storm for Sarnia, Petrolia, Western Lambton County, Watford, Pinery Park, Eastern Lambton County, back again into the severe thunderstorm warning. So some of these areas were in a tornado warning earlier. That had dropped. You're back now into a severe thunderstorm warning. Sarnia, Petrolia, Western Lambton County, Eastern Lambton County, Watford, Pinery Park. It's located about 10 kilometers north of Brights Grove, moving east at 55 kilometers per hour. Watch for 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts, potentially nickel-sized hail. And a tornado is also possible with this. That is what Environment and Climate Change Canada is actually putting in the warning, that a tornado is possible. But right now, this is a severe thunderstorm warning for these areas. And again, these storms are moving very fast, Jesse.
I've just been showing them on radar, Kim. Very interesting to watch. they're almost taking the exact same track as the other ones that initially hit. They're tracking east-northeast at essentially the same speed, and they're almost forming a line, if you will. So there's that long line there along the 402 corridor, entering portions of extreme southwestern Ontario. There's also another batch of storms tracking in a very similar direction north of Grand Bend up towards Goderich as well, where we have that other area of severe thunderstorm warnings as well.
If you can bring up Exeter on the map, I don't know if you can get a little closer on that. I'm going to show you this tweet, Jesse, because this is, yeah, that's pretty dramatic right here. Sycor on Twitter showing us a picture out of Exeter right now. He said, I don't trust it at all. He or she, I'm not sure. But yes, take a look at that, Jesse. That's, you know, I see something like this and I'm getting inside, that's for sure.
Wow. Yeah, that's, I mean, there is in fact a lot of rotation, a lot of vertical movement within the atmosphere. There's a couple of cells of interest, again, moving in and out of that area. That area, I do want to remind everyone, is under a tornado watch. So you do want to be weather aware. In that area, there's another cluster of storms that's heading towards Exeter as we speak. So not looking too great. We'll have to closely monitor that area because, again, conditions are ripe for the development of some very damaging wind gusts as well as some dangerous thunderstorms as well, carrying that heavy rainfall threat as well as the hail threat as well.
Listowel, Milverton, Northern Perth County, you are out of the severe thunderstorm warning, so it has ended for you. Mount Forest, Arthur, Northern Wellington County, all in the severe thunderstorm warning. Looking at another tweet here, Lake Huron, Pioneer Park, full storm coming in. And this is usually the best place to see a storm if you're on the other side of the lake and you can watch it from a distance with nothing impeding your view. Yeah, some pretty dramatic looking storm clouds here. Looking quite beautiful as well, but I would not be outside for any length of time, especially if you do not have shelter nearby. I would get in before that storm climbs on top of you too quickly because they are moving fast. We're talking about 55-kilometer-per-hour storms. That's how fast they're moving. And with these storms, we've been talking about winds anywhere from 75-kilometer-per-hour to 90-kilometer-per-hour winds. And those kinds of winds can cause damage. They can knock your power out. They can knock branches down. These are the things you have to prep for. The storm might not be in your backyard right now, but it could be headed your way. So whether you get hit with a storm or not, you should always be prepared and be prepared for a possible power outage. I think a lot of people, Jesse, were happy to see the rain. They might think, okay, we're getting a thunderstorm now, things are going to cool down. But that's not necessarily what's going to happen.
Not always the case, Kim. Sometimes after you receive a thunderstorm on a day like today, it actually feels more humid because there's just more moisture present within the atmosphere. Yes, it's rained out, but it's still very moist and damp outside. And we're still hanging on to that southerly flow as well. So that's something that Mark mentioned. He was still seeing more of a southerly wind direction, which meant, hey, that cold front, that main line of storms did not quite go through. There's still another batch that we're still tracking, and that's exactly the case as we head into the next 15, 20, 30 minutes actually. So I want to bring it to radar and actually show you exactly what Mark is out on. He's out on, I believe he's near that Grand Bend area, if I'm not mistaken, which is under a severe thunderstorm warning. Just to the north of it, pushing further north up towards Goderich. Again, lines of storms already moving onshore. There's a look at that. Still moving quite quickly as well. So that's one area of note. Again, still under a severe thunderstorm warning in some areas just to the east of there, but also that tornado watch, which we really want to keep a close eye out on in many areas, hugging the Huron and Georgian Bay shorelines.
Maybe you can go up to around the Owen Sound area. That's so we have Owen Sound, Blue Mountains, and that northern Grey County under the severe thunderstorm warning. ECCC is saying this storm is located near Markdale, moving east at 70 kilometers per hour. And the biggest hazard, of course, the 90 kilometer per hour winds. The areas impacted, I think it's Feversham correct me if I'm wrong, Pretty River Valley Provincial Park, Kimberley, and Duncan. And we have our storm hunter, Mark Robinson. We'll find out where he is. I know he's been watching the second line of storms come in. So we're going to head now to Mark. We can hear the wind now, Mark. We talked about the calm conditions before. That's no longer the case.
Yeah, it switched right back to those screaming south winds. But Kim, I want to take you out over top of Lake Huron, back over there. You can see a massive wall cloud back sort of on this storm. That's sort of a very good indication of how strong this storm is. This one is also producing considerable amounts of lightning, but that right there, that whole sort of section, that's where all the fuel is going into the storm and sort of going up. And essentially, if you are going to see a tornado, that is where it's going to be, back in here. We're watching to see if it has rotation, which it does. This storm, and there's another one to the south, also has rotation. So very similar to what we saw earlier in the day, with these storms moving onshore right near, or not, if not over top of Grand Bend.
What do you think would be the best case scenario here? Maybe a water spout situation, something where it's happening over water and not over land? You can still see the storm, but it's not going to impact anyone.
Exactly. That I would love that, because we got an absolutely beautiful look at this thing. So if it was to produce a tornado out there, it would be quite amazing to watch from here, because yeah, it's not going to affect anybody out there, and we've got the perfect position to watch one of the most incredible natural phenomenon on the planet.
So Mark, are you going to stay there, or are you planning on chasing somewhere else? This looks like a good spot right now, considering what you're looking at, but I'm wondering where your team is headed next.
Well, we're actually going to follow this one, because we want to make sure that we're informing our viewers of the potential of how dangerous these storms can be. We want to make sure we're staying with it to try and get that information out and back to you as much as we can, as this potentially more dangerous storm begins to move onshore.
Goderich, Blue Water, Southern Huron County, new severe thunderstorm warning just issued for those areas. Located about 30 kilometers northwest of Ipperwash Beach and moving east at about 55 kilometers per hour. ECCC now saying, Mark, 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts, nickel-sized hail, and yes, a tornado is also possible. That just came in.
I mean, yeah, I can actually see the change in the color into part of this. It's actually going a little bit green back in there, and that's a good indication that we are seeing a lot of hail in there as we're getting the light filtering through, and it filters out a lot of the colors except for the blue and the green, and that's where you see these green skies from this. And this is again sort of what we're watching. I can see lightning back in the core there. Yeah, this is definitely the most significant storm that we've seen so far today.
Yeah, I mean, it looks magnificent behind you. I have to say, the visuals, Jesse, you must agree. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful as long as you are at a safe distance. Mark, we'll check in with you later. Thank you for that. Boy, and stay safe out there. That's what we're trying to encourage with everyone who is looking at these storms. So yes, there's Mark Robinson on the shores of Lake Huron, where we have a number of warnings right now, severe thunderstorm warnings. There is a tornado watch that has been put into place early, basically saying that we have the potential for tornadoes to develop during the day. No warnings at the moment. However, these storms, they can bring a lot of severity along with them without having rotation, Jesse.
Absolutely. Mark did mention, Kim, off the top, just before leaving us actually, that there was some lightning being spotted off to the distance. I've narrowed down exactly where he is to pinpoint, and we could track that storm in real time for you as he's out in the field, just to get a better perspective of that storm. You can see it's actually quite the sprawling system, if you will. It's sandwiched right in between Goderich and Grand Bend, which is exactly where Mark is. Moving onshore, it's creeping onshore very slowly. There is actually quite a bit of lightning off over the lake. So if I overlay the lightning strikes here for you, over 1,000, 2,000 strikes of lightning being reported with that cluster. There's also another set of storms just to the south of that. which is just grazing portions of extreme southwestern Ontario along the 402 corridor out towards Sarnia, out towards Forest, and moving a little bit further onshore as we speak. So we'll be watching that line of storms as well as the line of storms actually very sneakily moving onshore from, or crossing the border, the Michigan-Ontario border, Kim.
Yeah, we got a lot of red on that map showing where the warnings are. I know that ECC pointing out that there's one located near Harriston, moving east at 75 kilometers per hour, again with 90 kilometer per hour wind gusts. And that one is under the warning for Mount Forest, Arthur, Northern Wellington, Southern Grey County, Hanover, and Dundalk. So they're watching that particular cell. I know you're closing in on it right there on the map. So yes, it's easy to find them on the radar. And it's, I mean, everybody's working together on these things, from Environment and Climate Change Canada to our storm hunters to our meteorologists, trying to keep everybody informed and safe too, of course. If you're not under a severe thunderstorm warning right now, but you have the potential of being under one, perhaps you're under a watch like much of southern Ontario, this is the time to get ready. These storms are popping up quickly and they're moving very quickly. Under a watch means that there's potential, that we have all of the ingredients for storms to happen. You may not necessarily see one, but if you do, they could be severe, and a severe thunderstorm warning means it is happening or is imminent. Basically, it's knocking at your door and you need to get inside. Okay, back to you, Jesse.
All right, let's take a wider look, Kim, because not all the activity is confined to the southern areas of the Great Lakes. It's also pushing into the parts of the north. So if you are doing any traveling, or if you do find yourself out towards Cottage Country, think Parry Sound, Algonquin Park, along Highway 11, Huntsville, out towards South River, we're still under that tornado watch. So there's still a lot of conditions favorable for the development of very dangerous storms in the coming hours. We already have that cluster of storms moving onshore. Those all got brought on by the activity, the lift over Georgian Bay. That continues to track further to the east. There's also this cluster of storms that we were tracking across extreme northeastern Ontario, that crossed the Ontario Quebec border, and it continues to maintain its strength as well as intensity. So that's quite interesting to watch out for. There's a widespread severe thunderstorm warning for that area, including Val-d'Or. And then there's still another area of lots of scattered activity out towards Timmins and northern Ontario, north of the Nickel Belt. Sault Ste. Marie, we already saw a lot of those thunderstorms roll in over the past hour or so. It looks like a lot of that activity is dodging that area, but a lot of it is confined just to the east of that. And I will say widespread severe thunderstorm watches remain in place. Our next area of interest is going to be anything that crosses portions of the Golden Horseshoe, and that will come a little bit after dinner hour. And we're already starting to see a little bit of pop-up activity across eastern sections of the Golden Horseshoe. So out towards Cobourg, Peterborough, not intense energy, not intense thunderstorms popping up, but little pulses of rain showers popping up in that area, because in fact there's enough humidity, enough heat, enough lift within the atmosphere to play around with in that area. So we'll continue to track that line of storms for you. It looks like it's continuing to cross a little bit closer into the escarpment, over the escarpment, and towards, again, many of the well-traveled highways. We are right into that rush hour commute time, which is unfortunate for many of those drivers out on the roads, because this line of storms is heading towards areas along the 400 corridor, out towards Barrie, Collingwood, Orillia, again, getting very close to that severe thunderstorm warning, and even those tornado watches as well, Kim.
I want to point out too, if people are watching us on TV, we're live streaming, so we are going live nonstop. I know there will be commercial breaks in your local forecast on TV, so if you see us just coming in and out of conversations, that is why. But we are live streaming on social media, on our Weather Network platforms, on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, I believe, and of course our website. So that's what's happening here. We are live streaming. Wanted to go now to Twitter to show Storm Hunter TWN. That's our Mark Robinson. Make sure that you follow him on Twitter if you don't already. He's showing again Lake Huron and a big wall cloud. Looks to be transitioning over to a shelf north of Grand Bend. This is where he was standing moments ago. when he was live on the air with us and just showing us that beautiful, dramatic, rotating storm. And I said it would be ideal if it just stayed there, where everyone could see it and admire it, and nobody is the worse for it if it stays there. But that's not what these cells are doing. They're moving very quickly. It may lose some of its rotation by the time it gets to shore, but right now we're talking about a number of severe thunderstorm warnings along the shore of Lake Huron and then in the northeast as well, as Jesse was pointing out. Kirk McDonald, my brother, out there as well. This is looking east from Palmerston at 6:15 p.m. Again, he's showing a similar storm cloud here, and again, lots of rotation on these storms. We can see how low that cloud is coming. Not necessarily a tornado, but this is why we have tornado watches. This is why the warnings are out. And within those tornado warnings, the Environment and Climate Change Canada is making sure that they say possible tornado with these storms, even if there's not a tornado warning, because sometimes these can happen very quickly and you want to be aware that the potential is there. We've got Liam Leclerc back here as well. This is some dark clouds coming into Parry Sound, 6:21, another area. Parry Sound, very popular this time of year, beautiful town. A lot of people head towards Parry Sound. They have cottages there too, so anybody who does that kind of thing, camps or goes to a cottage, has to be aware that this is typical summer weather. They have to be aware that if there are warnings, you need to get inside. And Liam showing us what's happening. Looks like safely from his home by the angle that I'm looking at here, the point of view, which is, to me, the best place to be if you're not a storm chaser, if you're not a weather expert, and you want to see, shoot these clouds or take video, and you're not under, say, a tornado warning, for example, and you can do it safely, we want to see it. So time and location, if you're tweeting it, that really helps us. It helps meteorologists and people who are watching these storms, gives us a good idea of where they are and what they're doing as well.
Kim, I couldn't have said it better. Time and location is everything. That's key. You showed the visuals that Mark was sending in, which were absolutely spectacular. It was beautiful to see that contrast of that shelf cloud over the waters, almost the crystal blue waters of Lake Huron. Absolutely beautiful. Just north of Grand Bend, that's what we're closely monitoring. Again, the shoreline's under a severe thunderstorm warning, as well as a tornado watch, which means there is potential that severe thunderstorm produces a tornado or two. It's tracking still very similar track, east-northeast at about 70 to 80 kilometers per hour. It's getting awfully close to the shorelines, and it looks like it's moving onshore as we speak. Again, Bayfield are already being impacted by the heavy rain. Even the hail threat is going to be more of a concern as well in the coming minutes as that cell continues to move onshore. We'll have to closely monitor the potential of a tornado or two out of that. And then as well, the line of storms that continues to march its way further across extreme southwestern Ontario. That's also looking quite nasty, bringing very damaging wind gusts as well as that hail threat. And if I overlay the lightning detector, you can see a lot of the lightning is, again, over Lake Huron, so further north. I know that's awfully distracting, but you can get a glimpse as to how many strikes are being detected, over 1,000 strikes over Lake Huron as we speak. And then there's another line of storms, again, heading towards our severe thunderstorm warning area, which is highlighted in the red. Highway 26, Highway 6, Highway 10 over Grey Bruce, which is where Kim's brother is oriented, and he's taking shots out of Markdale, which show clear signs of rotation as well. So we'll closely monitor that batch of storms. We'll have to closely monitor as we head into the next half hour or so out towards Collingwood, Barrie, Midland, Orillia, that next line of storms moving further to the east in the next little while as well.
And we've got some new warnings. Jesse wanted to mention some areas right back into the warning that were out of it before. So we've got Strathroy, Kamoka, Western Middlesex County. London is now back in the severe thunderstorm warning. So London, Park Hill, eastern Middlesex County as well. So ECCC saying this storm located, it's a line of storms, located from 12 kilometers southwest of Sarnia to 20 kilometers northwest of Wallaceburg to 20 kilometers west of Walpole Island, moving east at 65 kilometers per hour. So that's fast. Again, the hazards include 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts, nickel-sized hail, and a tornado is also possible. I'm seeing more and more in these warnings that continues to be one of the hazards, that a tornado is possible with these storms. Look at that line. And let's get real rudimentary here, Jesse, about the colors on a radar. For those who are not, they look at this, they see a lot of colors. Let's talk about what means severe weather and what's rain.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a great thing to talk about, because we show a lot of radars. We also show a lot of future models, if you will, which I will also walk everyone through. Right here is what you're seeing in the reds and the oranges, if you will, and I'll match it up with I can't quite circle the legend up here, but if you look at the top left corner of your screen, you can see from light, which goes from the blues and the light greens, to extreme, which is the darker hues of charcoal and purple, which indicate extreme. In other words, very heavy rain, if not very large hail, which is already being reported or being picked up by this radar with the cell that Mark is on. Just north of Grand Bend. And I will show everyone the timing, because we do want to actually time these storms out for you as we head into the next hour or so with our future radar. So future radar, quote unquote, or a forecast model, if you will, indicates or gives us a better glimpse as to what is expected to happen in the next several hours. If you take a look at this model, the same legend is being applied. So the yellows, the oranges that you're seeing indicate heavy rain, whereas the purples and the darker charcoals or blacks that you're seeing indicate the hail threat. And that hail threat is a bit more prominent along that line. And that line continues to cross further eastward across, say, the 400, past that dinner hour, up towards Barrie, through the GT as well. And then shortly after that midnight hour, if you will, it continues to move its way across extreme southeastern Ontario. So that's a better glimpse as to what our computer models show. The legends, again, key indication as to what you're looking at on each particular model, because everything's very different. I've been talking a lot about supercells. I've been talking a lot about lightning. Let's talk about the lightning potential, because there is a computer model that actually picks up on lightning potential. And this is actually fairly neat to actually take a closer look at the lightning potential crossing the GTA at about 7, 8, 9, 10 p.m. local time, and it crosses areas, and you could see it starts to fizzle out as we head into the late evening hours, if not the overnight hours. So that's one other model that we look at. Again, a lot of that storm energy, Kim, you mentioned, we're not quite done with it. We're still holding on to that storm energy tomorrow, unfortunately, but that severe weather threat shifts further to the east, including much of the eastern townships, just east of Montreal, up towards the St. Lawrence, Quebec City, even parts of New Brunswick as well.
I like that Environment and Climate Change Canada now, they're kind of reissuing severe thunderstorm warnings with updates on them. So normally we would just get a new warning when a warning comes in or a warning is dropped. But now then we'll send out another piece of information with a warning that's already been issued. So this time, it was just a couple of minutes ago, they're talking about the warned area of Goderich, Bluewater, and southern Huron County, where the latest storm is. So they said this severe thunderstorm is located 7 kilometers. Now, mind you, this a few minutes ago, so it could have been moving much quicker, but located 7 kilometers southwest of Bayfield, moving east at 55 kilometers per hour. So that's just one of many of the storms that we're looking at with this radar. They're racing across Lake Huron, holding their strength as they make their way onto land on the other side. And this is where we have our severe thunderstorm warnings in red. We can see the lightning. That's what is in white, showing the lightning strikes over the last little while. And you can see there's a ton of electricity with these storms. There's lots of energy, and for those areas that are under the severe thunderstorm warning, you are the people who need to get indoors and stay indoors until the warning ends, because a warning means that it's happening or is imminent, versus a watch, which means, okay, we have all the ingredients and a thunderstorm could develop. A warning means it has developed and you need to get inside.
That's great pointers, Kim, because, you know, it's not every day that we see this much activity across Ontario, this much severe weather being widespread across the region. There's a lot of areas of interest. Usually when we do live streaming events, we have a small region under a tornado warning or a watch. That's certainly not the case for today. We have widespread tornado watches that have been in place for several hours for a very good reason, to give everyone a heads up, because conditions are certainly favorable for the development of very dangerous weather. One or two tornadoes can't be ruled out. There's a wider crop rather of the line of storms. There's also a secondary line that we're already starting to see push onshore, originating from the shores of Lake Huron as well. I'll zoom into a couple of areas of interest for you and give you a bit more detailed look of the radar. Because what you might not know is that there's different radar sites, so it taps into a bit more of a detailed look of the radar, and it does a great job at indicating rotation, indicating the track of an exact storm, as well as the amount of hail or other threats. I believe there is a tornado warning.
Yes, I think so too. Can you run that over to me? It's a tornado warning.
Just as I
so we
zoomed
can just see
into this one area.
Right,
Yes.
it just popped up right on the map. As soon as it turns pink, we know there's a tornado warning. It's for Watford, Pinery Park, Eastern Lambton County, so those areas that were under a warning before. Strathroy, Kamoka, Western Middlesex, Eastern Middlesex County, London, and Park Hill. So those are the areas in pink currently under a tornado warning. At 6:40, Environment Canada meteorologists were tracking a severe thunderstorm that is possibly producing a tornado, damaging winds, large hail, and locally intense rainfall. All are possible. This is a dangerous and potentially life-threatening situation. That's what we like to tell people, of course. Flying debris, swirling debris, all of this could be a hazard. You could lose power. You need to get indoors is basically what we're saying. Get into the lowest room in your home. Hopefully that's a basement. The basement is the safest place to be if you are in a tornado situation. If you don't have a basement, the lowest level of your home, you want to get away from windows, you want to get into an interior room, something like a closet or a bathroom or even a bathtub. These are all good places and safe places to be during a potential tornado. And again, a tornado warning is issued if it's seen on radar, which is, I believe, what we have here is that it was radar indicated. Sometimes a warning is issued when it is caught on video or is reported by a reliable source. So these are the areas we're looking at right now under the tornado warning. I'm going to repeat them one more time, then we'll get to Jesse. Again, Watford, Pinery Park, Eastern Lambton County, Strathroy, Kamoka, Western Middlesex County, Eastern Middlesex County, Park Hill, and London. So this tornado warning replaces the severe thunderstorm warning that was in place just a short time ago.
And Kim, I've been showing that polygon highlighted in the pink, the fuchsia that you're seeing here. It looks to be a wider area that is now under a tornado warning. We did see Watford under a tornado warning maybe an hour ago per se. This is extending a bit more further to the east, now inclusive of the city of London as well, or the area of London, and along the 402 corridor. Again, this is peak rush hour as well, so anyone heading home, not a great idea. It's all been drawn on by this line of storms, so it's really encountering a very unstable air mass, an area of rotation. That means change in wind direction with height. And as this line pushes through this area, highlighted in the pink that you're seeing on the screen, the tornado warning, there is that chance of one or two tornadoes being brought on by this line of storms.
Can I just say, at 6:42, Environment Canada updating again this particular warning, and they're talking about a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Thetford, moving east at 55 kilometers per hour. The areas impacted: Park Hill, Thetford, Nairn, Ailsa Craig, Springvale, Sylvan, Bournish, Moray, these are all small towns, Lurie, West McGilvery, Brinsley, and Carlisle. All of these areas currently under threat. The tornado warning is for Watford, Pinery Park, Eastern Lambton County, Western Middlesex, Eastern Middlesex, Park Hill, Camoka, Strathroy, and London. And the storm right now, located near Thetford, is moving east at 55 kilometers per hour. This is great. Jesse's right on it and zooming in on the storms that meteorologists are watching, obviously in Environment Canada and here as well, and showing where they suspect a tornado may have formed.
And that's the exact cell, Kim. I love how you actually listed the key areas or the towns being impacted directly by this storm, because yes, that polygon or that region under a tornado warning is actually quite expansive. You can see how localized that tornado threat really is, or at least the impacted areas really is. The way that Environment Canada does issue warnings, a bit more complicated in nature, but it's also to keep everyone safe within the surrounding area of active weather. So yes, that extension of the tornado warning does stretch all the way into London, but we are zooming into some of the exact or some of the targeted areas per se within the next minutes. You can see on radar it's picking up on very dark hues of red, purple, indicating the hail threat, large hail, one of the primary threats, very strong wind gusts, and as well as one or two quite possible with this storm in particular.
We've got a new severe thunderstorm warning, and we have one that's ended. So I'm going to say them, and you're going to show us where they are, as we've been doing. So the new warning is for Shelburne, Mansfield, Northern Dufferin County. So Hanover, Dundalk, and Southern Grey are still in that warning, but Shelburne, Mansfield, and Northern Dufferin are new to the severe thunderstorm warning, and the warning has now ended for Mount Forest, Arthur, and Northern Wellington counties. So those areas are out. Some new areas are in. This severe thunderstorm is located near Maple Lane, moving east at 75 kilometers per hour. Locations impacted include Corbiton. So that's the area impacted right now. Again, moving east at 75 kilometers per hour. The main hazard with this are the 90 kilometer per hour wind gusts, which could toss loose objects, damage weak buildings, break branches off trees, overturn large vehicles, lightning kills. Remember all of this that goes along with a severe storm. You got something new? I've got people working behind the scenes here. We've got Matt and Shannon handing the warnings, being on top of things here. Severe thunderstorm warning now as well, Jesse, for Barrie, Collingwood, and Hillsdale. Those areas under a severe thunderstorm warning. So another spot.
Yep.
And that's included with Owen Sound, Blue Mountains, and Northern Grey County.
Yep, exactly that. I was just zooming into that area because we've been talking a lot about that area. If you are heading towards Collingwood, Barrie, again, closer to that 7 o'clock hour. It's amazing to see how the computer models are really predicting this spot on with the timing, the positioning, and the threats. Really it's all coming together in real time, as well as all the visuals coming in from Twitter, which are a great help. There's a closer look at the thunderstorm over Collingwood, that area up towards Stayner, towards Barrie under a severe thunderstorm warning, as you mentioned, Kim. There's that other very strong thunderstorm that just moved out of the Mount Forest area, but's tracking towards the Dundalk Highlands along Highway 10. That's another area of interest there. And then again, we still have that one storm that Mark Robinson was on, or still is on. It has fully moved onshore, crossed Highway 21 as well, bringing that hail threat. So we'll likely touch base with him at some point very soon, just to see what he actually spotted with that storm. Very interesting to look at. That was the one that was carrying a lot of lightning activity, which continues to carry a lot of electricity with it, moving onshore from Lake Huron. And again, we also have, if you're just joining us, a tornado warning for areas along the Highway 21 corridor, extreme southwestern Ontario, inclusive of London, Thedford, Park Hill. Those are the main threats for us, Thedford and Park Hill, with large hail. One or two tornadoes can't be ruled out there. Very strong wind gusts as well. We'll likely see an update with that thunderstorm in the coming moments, but we still have widespread severe thunderstorm watches in place out ahead of this activity. We're starting to see a couple of pop-up thunderstorms as well. Not incredibly strong in nature, but we still saw a little bit of a shower pass through the Kitchener-Guelph area not too long ago.
I've got a tweet too from Mark Robinson, who you're mentioning has been on these storms, chasing them. He's got this photo on Twitter. Make sure you follow him on Twitter as well, at StormHunterTWN. Wall cloud south of Zurich. He's got not just a photo, but a video here, and you can see again that this cloud is rotating. So this is just south of Zurich. Of course, we have tornado warnings in place: Watford, Pinery Park, Eastern Lambton County, Strathroy, Kamoka, Western Middlesex, Eastern Middlesex, London, and Park Hill. So London, Ontario, under that tornado warning. Keep that in mind. Big city, of course, under tornado warning. Scary situation. But you were mentioning too, Jesse, the fact that these areas are so massive sometimes, and it's often a little area that could be threatened by a particular tornado. The cells are not as big as the areas that they're under. Severe thunderstorm warning now for, these are new, Wingham, Blythe, Northern Huron County, Stratford, Mitchell, Southern Perth County, and Listowel, Milverton, Northern Perth County are all currently under a severe thunderstorm warning. And Jesse's getting all over the map here because these storms are so widespread.
Yes, they're popping up everywhere, and they're moving very quickly, Kim. Just to remind everyone, we had that initial line that went through, and now we're starting to see another batch of storms that originated off of Lake Huron that tracked onshore again, impacting some of the same areas twice within one afternoon. So a lot of storm energy. You could see the first set of storms didn't actually diminish our chances of seeing more severe weather shortly thereafter. And again, that visual that Mark Robinson sent in.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt, Jesse, because Spencer Sills has just tweeted that his chase is done. Now he's reporting that there was a tornado on the ground 2 kilometers north of Thetford. It's rain wrapped. So he's saying his chase is done. We can see that there's a tree down on the road, so that would stop anybody from traveling. So technically south of Thetford, but phone having issues sending tweets and loading velocity due to notifications. So having trouble now sending out any more information. Now, tornado not confirmed, but Spencer Sills saying yes, one on the ground, very close to Thetford, rain wrapped, which makes them especially dangerous when a tornado is rain wrapped. They're very difficult to see because the rain just impedes any kind of visuals.
Absolutely, and that's the exact same cell that I was showing here. Very heavy rain associated with that. There was a lot of moisture with that cell in particular. You could see that just moves east of Thetford. It tracks towards Park Hill. So we're not quite done with that. We are still holding on to the tornado warning, Kim. So we'll continue to watch out for that. There's also the trailing line that comes behind it. That's been scraping portions of Wallaceburg as well, or just to the north of it. And it continues to encounter that tornado watch. So we're not completely in the clear in areas across the southwest. Still lots of alerts to keep track of. There's that line of potentially damaging winds as well. Again, fast moving thunderstorms continue to move through that risk area. And we'll continue to track the risk zone across the Grey Bruce area as well for you, because that is now entering some of the very populated areas of Barrie along the 400 up towards Midland as well. So anyone doing traveling up towards Collingwood, Stayner, those areas under a severe thunderstorm warning as well.
If you're under a tornado warning, you're going to want to get to the lowest room in your home. Hopefully a basement. If you've got a lowest floor in your room, a basement is best. Oh, it looks like we've just lost a little bit of that tornado warning, which is good. Stay away from windows and glass doors. That's why we want you to be in an interior room because it's breaking glass that can cause injury. Cover yourself with a mattress or a sleeping bag. Get to a bathroom, a bathtub, even better. Cover yourself with a mattress if you can. So the tornado warning I mentioned just dropped. That was for Watford, Pinery Park, and Eastern Lambton County. So those areas now out of the tornado warning as these storms continue to move. But Strathroy, Kamoka, Western Middlesex County, Eastern Middlesex County, all still under that tornado warning. and London is, as well as Strathroy. So we can see these storms not in London or Strathroy just yet, but the line of storms is moving that way, and the tornado warning is issued so that people have the heads up, that they're not taking any chances. And we can see how extreme that weather was in Thetford, potentially a tornado on the ground there. That's where the storms have moved through. And Jesse, you were just showing the radar in the Thetford area. So the next one is located about 5 kilometers east. Oh, so when this was issued, which was at 6:52, they're saying that a severe thunderstorm, and when I say they, Environment and Climate Change Canada is saying a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located 5 kilometers east of Thetford, moving east. So now it's gone through Thetford, moving east at 55 kilometers per hour. Again, hazard, tornado. They have tornado as number 1 on this particular warning. 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts and nickel-sized hail.
Yeah, there's a closer look at that on radar. We've been showing everyone. You can see the arrows that I've overlaid on this radar. It indicates the track that these cells are taking. You can see most of the storm system is tracking to the east. So I could imagine the next targeted area would be further into Lucan and maybe even Denfield in the next couple of minutes. And again, that whole entire area that you're seeing in the fuchsia pink is in fact under a tornado warning. Still to the north of this, activity along Highway 21, Goderich towards Grand Bend, and further eastward along Highway 8, there is still a severe thunderstorm warning as well as a tornado watch. We have a cluster of storms. This is the same storm system that Mark Robinson was on. He was capturing for us live out in the field, still is on that storm as it tracks further inland. Lots of lightning associated with this one and a lot of heavy rainfall, as well as the hail threat. That continues to be an issue. As we travel further to the north, I just want to walk you through some of these other storms. Again, a little bit more sparse in nature. We're not seeing as much of a linear pattern with these storms. They're a bit more isolated. They're tracking further to the northeast, entering portions of the Grey Bruce area up towards Owen Sound, Highway 26 and Highway 6 as well. And then we can't forget about the other areas of interest further across the Collingwood area, Dundalk Highlands, out towards Barrie. I know we're entering an area of, or a time frame rather, of well-traveled highways, especially the 400 corridor. So we are concerned about the flooding threat, ponding, pooling, heavy rain associated with some of these storms, as well as the hail threat with that line.
And Jesse, you were talking about the heavy rain and forest earlier, and I know you'll show us that on the radar, and you said, okay, these storms, they have a ton of rain associated with them, and that could potentially cause flooding. Well, of course you were correct. And this is a tweet coming from Forest, Ontario, where we have had some flooding. This is on Main Street and Broadway. Colin Michano showing us the images there. When you get a lot of rain in a very short period of time and there's nowhere for it to go, well, it takes some time to drain. And a lot of these places have been very dry, and of course it's difficult when the ground is hard for that rain to absorb quickly. It's also difficult in urban centers on concrete, so you get a whole lot of rain and then it can easily flood. Now that water will probably dissipate very quickly and drain, but in the meantime we're talking about the potential for hydroplaning, etc. Now we have a new severe thunderstorm warning. This is for Chatham-Kent, Rondeau Park, Watford, Pinery Park, Eastern Lambton County. We had been in that tornado warning for them. They are now out of that tornado warning, as we were mentioning, and they are into a severe thunderstorm warning. And there's the close-up of Forest, a community that's on the shores of Lake Huron, beautiful little town, and we can see the rain across, or the water at least, across the road. And yeah, we don't suggest that you drive in there in any kind of vehicle unless you've got a big old Jeep, Jesse. Maybe you could get through, but this can get awfully dangerous very quickly. When the rain comes down that heavily, Plus, it's hard to see when the rain's that heavy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can imagine how dark those skies were once that cell was going through. What I'm showing you on your screen, I was showing this, it's estimated rainfall based off of radar reflectivity. I know it's a mouthful, but essentially based off of radar data, we could get a better idea of how much rain actually fell over X amount of time. So therefore, I ran over the last 15 minutes or so, got a glimpse of this, estimated about 30 to 40 millimeters through the forest area, just within that one storm that went through. So again, Kim, we're talking about over 30, 40 millimeters of rainfall falling within a very short amount of time, which raises the concern for ponding and pooling out on the roads. Definitely not hard to get into that isolated flooding threat with these thunderstorms.
We've got some new warnings now as well. So this is the tornado warning. I'm going to give you some severe thunderstorm warnings, and it's an area that we've been paying attention to as well. So again, for that Shelburne, Mansfield, Hanover area, northern Dufferin County, I can't say it's a new warning. This is an update to the warning, just saying where the storm is. So Environment Climate Change Canada saying the severe thunderstorm is located near Hopesville, moving east at 75 kilometers per hour. The hazards with this one, 90 kilometer per hour wind gusts, and a tornado is also possible. So that's in that Shelburne, Mansfield, northern Dufferin County, Hanover, Dundalk, southern Grey County area. So it's a big area under the warning, but the place we want to pay closer attention to is Hopeville, where the storm is located, and it's moving east from there at 75 kilometers per hour. And we've been talking about how quickly these storms move. You don't have a lot of time to prep, to bring things inside. Certainly wind has been a problem with these, hail, and again, that heavy rain. So if you're concerned about flooding, I'm hoping that your home is, kind of flood proof with heavy rain, downspouts cleaned out, that kind of thing, your eaves troughs, I should say. So, there are things you can do. Sump pump. If you are prone to flooding, make sure that's in working order, because obviously we just saw in Forest, and as you were mentioning, you can get a whole lot of rain in a very short period of time. There's so much humidity in the atmosphere, so that means there's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. And when that happens, wow, those clouds, they just dump out the rain. 30 to 40 millimeters is not a ton of rain in general, but all at once, it certainly is. Keep in mind, for the first almost 2 weeks of July, Toronto had only seen 8 millimeters of rain, and now we're talking about, in this community, 30 to 40 millimeters potentially in an hour.
It's a lot, especially falling through an area, Kim, that doesn't have a lot of vegetation. We're not talking about a field, we're talking about towns, city centers not capable of actually absorbing that rain water, which raises the concern for what we're in store for later tonight. I want to walk everyone through where these storms are headed as we head into this evening and potentially the dinner hour as well. Let's speed this up. 1 hour from now, around 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, this line of storms still just over the escarpment and crossing just to the east of it, entering still over or crossing over the 400 towards Barrie, Orillia, Midland. Still some scattered action happening across cottage country. I think Parry Sound out towards Algonquin, where we still have that tornado watch in place. And we can't rule out the chance of a pop-up shower, thunderstorm, maybe a heavy downpour through the GTA. So I'll highlight that for you here through portions of the Toronto area proper. Around 8 or 9 p.m. we'll likely start to see the approach of some nasty storms carrying really heavy pulses of rain, maybe even that hail threat as well as that damaging wind threat. You'll notice.
So I just want to mention that Bayfield Inlet and Dunchurch are now under a severe thunderstorm warning. So that's new for Bayfield Inlet and Dunchurch. The storm is located about 7 kilometers west of Key Harbor and is moving northeast at 60 kilometers per hour, which is fast. Again, the hazards with this particular one, 90 kilometer per hour wind gusts, nickel-sized hail. Locations impacted: French River, Grundy Lake Provincial Park, French River Provincial Park. So this is, Camp Central, people who go camping or fishing. Bass Lake, Hartley Bay, Key Junction, Key Harbor, Henvey Inlet, Key River, Portage Lake, Deer Bay, Canton Lake, Willette, Squaw Lake, and Bark Lake. All of these areas, obviously a highly forested area. heavy rain, lightning, all a problem with this. And when we'll just bring it back for 1 second to me. You've got some great radar shots, but we also have some new tweets showing that storm over Thetford not that long ago, where it was tornado warned. I believe it still is. Nick Dewhurst writing, better view of the mothership Supercell that just impacted Thetford, going to look for damage. What a day. So there's a great shot of the clouds rotation on that. It was a wall cloud and then turned to this. Do we have other ones here? You're gonna, okay, bring them on. Tornado warned incoming, Strathroy. So there's the storm there again. Lowering we've got certainly a rotation on this storm as well. A lot of people, they can't, you can't not see it. And then here, Highway 89 and Gray 8, 6:55 p.m. Kayla showing us this and calling it pretty. And those who love storms, and I know that Kayla is one of them, considers these kinds of images gorgeous. Other people, not so much. We know, Jesse, that there are a lot of people who are afraid of thunderstorms, afraid of severe weather, and we're here to, to educate so that people will be less afraid. The more they know, the better it is. Sorry, just getting handed this. Tornado warning. Okay, so we had all that already, London, Park Hill, but it has ended for Strathroy, Kamoka, and Western Middlesex County. It continues for London, Park Hill, and Eastern Middlesex County. So a little bit of a change there. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located near Park Hill right now, and it is moving east at 55 kilometers per hour. So if you can pick that one up on radar, again, tornado with 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts, nickel-sized hail are the main hazards. Some areas out of the warning, Strathroy included, and some areas continue to be in that tornado warning, including London.
And we were just talking about the target areas, Cam, not too long ago, a few minutes ago, Park Hill, maybe out towards Lucan in the next couple of minutes as well. So I feel like that cell's just on track. Again, it's really picking up in the darker reds, the purples, which indicate very heavy rain, probably another 30, 40, 50 millimeters of rain falling in that Park Hill area as that storm heads further to the east. And again, we're starting to see a lot of activity pop up in areas under that severe thunderstorm watch. So it's going to continue to become a bit more scattered, a bit more widespread, if you will, across much of southern Ontario in the coming hours. So there's a lot of areas of focus here. I know we're shifting back and forth to several areas across northern Ontario, cottage country, southwestern Ontario. There's just a lot of ingredients on the table, if you will, that support the development of some severe thunderstorms.
We have a tweet that shows some damage now, Jesse. This is from Spencer Sills, who had indicated in Thetford that there was a tornado on the ground, yet to be confirmed, but showing some of the damage here. Maybe we can bring this up. This is Highway 79 by Cedar Point, and you can see that a tree literally chopped off. Here's another one on the ground again. And by the way, severe thunderstorm warning now for Strathroy, Kamoka, and Western Middlesex County. So that's been the downgrade, I guess. So again, some damage here. Possible tornado in Thetford, which an area that was warned, tornado warned. This is the kind of thing we worry about, obviously. If it's out in a rural community, the damage doesn't impact too many people, but certainly if power lines come down, people could be without power for a long time. And if these kinds of storms maintain their strength as they move into these highly populated areas, Jesse, that could be really problematic in a very short period of time.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, yes, these are hitting some smaller towns, if you will, but if there is that flooding threat, the ponding, the pooling, that becomes a bigger issue, a bit more widespread in nature, especially when we're dealing with major corridors, major highways as well. Entering the 402, the Highway 21 corridor as well. This is just a glimpse as to how much rainfall we saw over the past 15 minutes. So that just goes to show kind of how much atmospheric moisture we have to work with. There's a whole lot of that. There's, again, more rainfall on the way as we head further eastward towards Park Hill, Lucan, again, entering that tornado warning as well, because this thunderstorm is in fact carrying a whole lot of moisture with it. There's a closer look on radar where it's heading. I'll throw on the trackers for you here. Again, tracking at around 70 to 80 kilometers per hour, I'd say. That was the past text on the warning. And it is, again, carrying a whole lot of moisture. So the hail threat, the wind threat, as well as the tornadic threat is certainly on the table within the next couple of minutes. We'll continue to track that for you. Kim, there's also that next batch of storms further to the north. That is the same cell that Mark Robinson was tracking. It did move onshore. It looks like it's losing a lot of its rotation, a lot of its energy, as well as a lot of its moisture, which is good news. We're still, however, under that severe thunderstorm warning in that area.
I was thinking, like, storms are like toddlers, right? They can have all this energy, and then they can just completely tire themselves out, pass out on the floor. And that's what storms kind of do as well. They're their own worst enemy. And I just want to, I'll get back to you in just a second. I just want to show you this other piece of damage that Supercells, who's been out storm chasing, found as well. So in Cedar Point Line, again, tree on the ground. That's an indication of how powerful these winds are. And again, even if you're not in a tornado warning, although this area was tornado warned, you could have some very powerful winds, at least 90 kilometers per hour. London, Park Hill, Eastern Middlesex County, still under that tornado warning.
Yeah, and Kim, we saw wind gusts between the 90 to 100 plus kilometer per hour range associated with these storms. The visuals certainly paint the picture as to how strong those winds really were. We're still tracking that powerful storm. It survived actually off of Lake Huron. It tracked further inland. It's still going. It's still maintaining its strength, and it continues to move further to the east. So we continue to track that. We've also been tracking this entire line, which is actually quite interesting as it stretches across extreme southwestern Ontario. That's still maintaining its strength. It's also likely producing very strong wind gusts along that line as well. So we'll continue to track that. I'll just give a bigger picture for everyone watching, because yes, it's not only confined to parts of the southern Great Lakes, it's also up towards the Collingwood area, Grey Bruce County, Cottage Country, Algonquin Park as well, and then even crossing the Quebec border. So there's just a whole lot of activity happening. I just want to remind everyone and give everyone the bigger picture here. What we have been tracking for you all day is this major low pressure system. We could almost take this off and give everyone a better perspective as to what this system has been what it has been doing and what it's been producing.
You know what, Jesse, it's absolutely massive. I just want to jump in for 1 sec just to say that Windsor is now under a severe thunderstorm warning. So Windsor, Leamington, Essex County are now under a severe thunderstorm warning, and they're added now to the area that was Chatham-Kent, Sarnia, Watford, Strathroy, so that whole area down in southwestern Ontario, now including the city of Windsor. The storm is located near Arkona, to 8 kilometers east of Oil Springs, to 15 kilometers south of Wallaceburg, to 9 kilometers northwest of Amherstburg, moving east 60 kilometers per hour. The hazards include 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts and nickel-sized hail.
Wow. And as you mentioned, it's a sprawling area of low pressure. There's a major cold front, but there's also a couple of lines of instability, which is why we've seen, multiple lines hit the same area, Kim, over and over again. So I do want to remind everyone, there's still that same exact tornado watch in place. It hasn't really budged. The conditions are favorable for this area to see 1 or 2 tornadoes. We might have already seen 1 or 2 tornadoes in the extreme southwest. There's a closer look at the alerts, again, issued by Environment Canada. Severe thunderstorm warnings highlighted in the red. In the yellow, severe thunderstorm watches, which again, it paints a picture over the densely populated areas of the Golden Horseshoe. And I do want to time out these storms for everyone watching. because as we head into the dinner hour, think within the next hour from now, 8 p.m., we're talking about the same line stretching further across the escarpment, pushing along the 401 corridor, likely including the west end of Lake Ontario. So think the 401, the 403, the QEW down towards Hamilton, including Oakville, Burlington, Mississauga, out towards Toronto, and then further north along the Highway 400 towards Barrie as well. Now these storms actually survive quite the journey, quite the time after sunset, and that's because we've been dealing with such a hot and soupy air mass. You think, we've been holding on to very mild temperatures, very high humidity as well. Does that cold front actually cut out our humidity? Not that much, Kim. Unfortunately, we're still holding on to very uncomfortable values. Cold front not really giving any sense of relief, unfortunately, for us. So we're still holding on to the isolated storm threat in the coming days, especially into our weekend. We're still holding on to the extreme heat as well. I've mentioned Environment Canada has issued heat warnings. They remain in place. The storms, unfortunately, not giving us any real relief in terms of the humidity. I'll walk you through the overnight temperatures because that indicates how uncomfortable tonight is actually going to be. So windows closed, air conditioning's on. It's going to still be 20, 22 degrees through the Golden Horseshoe. We're still holding on to that thunderstorm threat as it pushes further to the east. And I want to give you another glimpse at the radar because we've been really focusing in on the activity across the extreme southwest. I'll give you a very detailed look at the radar here because we still have one area under a tornado warning, which includes London and the surrounding areas. We've been talking about the really heavy rainfall, the hail threat, the wind threat heading towards Park Hill. It does now push into Lucan as we were talking about over the last 15 minutes or so. And we still are tracking that severe thunderstorm line, actually. It's under a severe thunderstorm warning, and that stretches all the way down towards extreme southwestern Ontario. So we'll continue to track that for you. Again, we do want to be aware that anywhere highlighted in the yellow, we're under a severe thunderstorm watch, which means conditions are in fact favorable for the development of thunderstorms. And we're expecting those to get going, Kim, within the next couple of hours or so.
Got a few new warnings as well, including Innisfil near New Tecumseth, Angus, Barrie. We've got Collingwood, Hillsdale, also under the severe thunderstorm warning. Some of these areas, sound familiar, but we would have had a warning earlier, then it's dropped, then it's reissued because we are talking about rounds of storms in this case. Round number one, round number two. Some of these storms popping up ahead of the main line of storms as well. They may not be as severe. You may have a storm go through and you're like, what, we didn't have a warning. But because the main line is coming behind it, that's likely the scenario. And we're talking about very powerful winds, heavy rain, hail, and again, in some cases, the potential for tornadoes or rotation. Just want to get into the difference between a severe thunderstorm watch and a warning. If you're just joining us, we're live streaming. So if you have been tuning in on television and we're kind of popping in and out midstream halfway through our sentences, it's because we are live on our website, social media as well, and we just keep on going. So difference between a watch and a warning. So a watch means that all the ingredients are there for severe weather when it comes to a severe thunderstorm potentially. And watches could be issued sometimes hours in advance because meteorologists know that it's the kind of day or the kind of night that severe weather is possible, if not probable. And a warning means that it is happening or is imminent. So it's on your doorstep or not far away. And that means it's time to get in, to take shelter. And we've had a number of watches and warnings, including a tornado watch that was issued hours ahead of time across much of Western Ontario because of the potential today for supercells. Big storms, rotating storms that could produce tornadoes. And within that watch, we have had tornado warnings. So warnings kind of pop up and then go away as the storms move through, whereas watches tend to stay in place for longer. And that's why we've had this tornado watch in place for several hours. And it was really great to get people planning and get them ready for potential severe weather. Let's take a look at some video that we've had come in. I believe this is from our storm hunter, Mark Robinson, in Zurich, showing us one of these storms, a low rotating storm cloud close to the ground. And most of these storms have been happening in rural areas, not densely populated areas. Here's Dashwood, Ontario. Again, storms that have moved off of Lake Huron and then into areas on land. So many of these regions were either severe thunderstorm warned or tornado warned in some cases as well. And our storm hunter, Mark Robinson, was out and about and reporting live and following these as they bubbled up. Let's go now to St. Joseph, where we've got this. And there's Mark talking, showing us again more severe weather, and you can hear that wind as well. And look how yellow everything is. I mean, things are dry, certainly. The crops could use some of this moisture, but too much at once is never a good idea. Okay, Jesse Uppel taking a break from our live stream, and now we are going to bring in meteorologist Ida Hung to take the reins over from her. She has been here all evening as well, paying attention to these storms, watching them on radar, knowing what's going on behind the scenes. I have a whole team here helping me out. And again, there's the difference between a tornado watch and warning. A watch meaning we've got favorable conditions through the day. A warning means that is happening. Let's bring in Ida Hung now. And there she is. Ida, you know, you've been watching these storms. Rain has been a real factor with these as well as the wind, hasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. We have been tracking these storms. This whole system has all started from Alberta into Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and now it's in Ontario. So as you've mentioned earlier, we have been tracking these storms for a while now. So we've been preparing for many days watching the storm come to Ontario.
Ida, I'm just going to jump in too because I have some good news. As soon as you came in, you must have brought the good weather because the tornado warning has now been downgraded to a severe thunderstorm warning. So the tornado warning that had been in place for London, Park Hill, and eastern Middlesex County, so that was our last area, at least for now, under a tornado warning. It has been downgraded to a severe thunderstorm warning. So London, Park Hill, and eastern Middlesex County are now under a severe thunderstorm warning. And that's the kind of day it has been where these storms bubble up. They may have rotation on them. Tornado warnings are issued. The storm passes through, and then we may get or may not get another storm. And they're so widespread, Ida. This is a massive low pressure system.
That's right, Kim. Yeah, we're just watching the warnings being dropped off, and yeah, so London is still under that thunderstorm warning. So still, we need to be weather aware as that line of storms still very potent. So we could be seeing some dangerous winds with that system. So definitely still got to keep an eye on this.
I've got some tweets coming in too from the damage thanks to some of those storms that had rolled through. Mike showing us, again, this is in that Thedford area which had earlier been under a tornado warning. So a roof partially removed from a barn at Northville Road. That's what we're looking at here. Can we make that smaller again? I just got to take a look at all the information there, Marta. Okay, and then we'll bring it up to okay, so this is south of Cedar Point line. Mike, and he's at 205 miles per hour at 205 mph on Twitter, showing us scenes there. So we've got some damage. We've seen a few tweets like this now with trees down, with trees actually snapped in half. This is what we're worried about. Now, this is an area that is not highly populated. It's a more of a rural area, so damage is, not ideal, certainly. But when this kind of weather moves into a densely populated area, then there's concern about injuries and whatnot. So we can see, I don't know if that's a tree on the ground or oh, that's part of the roof. Okay, so the roof has come out and flown over here. One of our storm chasers at Supercells mentioning that he saw a tornado on the ground about 2 kilometers outside of Thedford. Not confirmed, but we're looking at damage that is likely caused by powerful winds, if nothing else. So you can't mess around with these storms. They're widespread, moving from west to east at a clip, 55, 60 kilometers per hour, and they can do a lot of damage. So at the very least, the very least, be bringing your patio furniture inside. If you've got it on a balcony, bring it inside, because if one of these storms hits, it could cause a lot of trouble.
That's right, Kim. And I just want to also mention, as well as Jesse had mentioned earlier, about possible power lines being blown down. So we could be losing some electricity. Even as it's hitting those small areas could be losing some power. So we got to keep an eye on that. And we will be updating everyone as well if we are seeing those power lines being dropped.
Yeah, power outage is always a concern with these kinds of storms, and this is the time now to get prepped for that kind of thing. If you still have your power, do everything you need to do in case the lights do go out. But look how massive this is. I mean, not everybody getting hit, obviously, but that's a line of storm that tracks from southwestern Ontario all the way up to the northeast.
Exactly, Kim. And I just want to mention that even though like we're only seeing the storms right now over in southern Ontario, it does stretches to the northeastern portions of Ontario and even into Quebec. And I did measure out this storm, and it is over 1,000 kilometers. So it is also stretching down into the stateside areas. So this is a very big storm that we are watching.
We're moving into this, we aren't, but a cold front is moving into this hot, humid air mass, and that's what has helped trigger these storms. We get this lift, this cold front moving in and pushing all that air up into the upper atmosphere. Boom, comes the storms. We've seen this coming for quite a while. Normally, Ida, when we have a cold front coming through, people are thinking, okay, we get the storms, then we can open the windows and turn off the AC. That is not the case this time around.
No, that is definitely not the case. We're still going to be seeing those hot and humid temperatures remaining. So even though this cold front is pushing through, it's not going to be dropping those temperatures for us. So I don't know if you're like me, but I cannot handle humidity.
You're a prairie girl, right?
I am from the prairies. I need that cold, dry air. So this is pretty tough for me.
I know, Ida, you're one of those rare people that I know who actually love the winter, love the cold, love your Manitoba hometown. A lot of people love their Manitoba hometown. I just mean the love of the cold air. And you were certainly not, it's feeling very tropical across Ontario. Yes. And it doesn't matter if you're in the south or in the north. Everybody's feeling this heat and humidity. And if you don't have AC or a way to cool off, this can be very uncomfortable, if not dangerous.
That's right, yeah. So even when the humidity bumps up just a little bit, even in my place, it's gone from 46 to 50% humidity, and I just feel it instantly.
It's hot and sticky. Okay, and at night, this cooler air is not coming in either. I mean, it'll be cooler than the day, but it's still uncomfortable. 20 degrees plus humidity is not great sleeping weather. This low pressure system has been huge, impacting not only Ontario, but eventually into Quebec and Atlantic Canada. There's a look at the radar. Here's the cold front. The potential for hail has been ongoing with this storm. Nickel-sized hail is what Environment and Climate Change Canada has been talking about with these storms. They are fast-moving, heavy rainfall, lots of lightning on these storms, nickel-sized hail. There's that cold front moving east, clearing out certainly behind it. There's still a potential for some pop-up thunderstorms in Ontario for Thursday, but for the most part, things are stabilizing, maybe for a few days before we get right back into the action.
That's right, yes. And I also want to mention that the storms are developing in extreme southwestern Ontario. We're seeing more of that line of storms coming together. So storms redeveloping, that's going to be moving into Chatham, Tilbury. So we're going to be continuing to see those storms develop once again. And that area has been under severe thunderstorm warnings for quite a while now.
Yeah, it feels like hours, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I do have some good news though, but because some areas are now out of the severe thunderstorm warning, not where you are showing, because those areas continue to be ramped up. But Shelburne, Mansfield, Northern Dufferin County, Innisfil, New Tecumseh, Angus, Barrie, Collingwood, and Hillsdale are all that severe thunderstorm warning has come to an end for those areas. I'm reading a lot of papers, my friends. Okay, so severe thunderstorm warnings ended for Shelburne, Innisfil, Barrie. That's where the good news is. But as we can see from this map, and you're paying attention to the radar as well, storms are far from over.
No, definitely not. We're still watching for that line of storms, still going to be making its way into to the southern portions of, or rather the lakeshore area. So the GTA still in line to see those storms come together around later on this evening, past the 8 p.m. mark, so past the dinner hour.
Yeah, the later they come in, the better it is, because it means more people have had the chance to get home. These storms rolling through during rush hour is not ideal. That would be worst case scenario, considering the thousands and thousands of cars on the road at that time through the 400 series of highways. So the storms taking their time moving east, likely a good scenario, maybe the best scenario for the GTA, obviously the most highly populated area in the country. Looks like we might be getting a few more severe thunderstorm warnings popping up. Let's see this video now, driving through Bayfield, again on the shores of Lake Huron. Oh, attempting to roll down the window.
Sheets of rain.
Oh, wow.
There's no rotation to this, so I'm not worried.
You can hear some commentary there as well, but
Look at that.
yeah,
It's driving.
the rain is so heavy you can't see. That makes for some very poor visibility, and it can lead to localized flooding as well, Ida.
Yeah, that absolutely, and that's some heavy downpour that we're seeing in that video.
Look at the sheets of
I'm
rain.
getting a new warning now too. Okay, so the warning has ended for Wingham, Blythe, Northern Huron County, and Northern Perth County, Listowel, Milverton included. But a severe thunderstorm warning is now in place for Mount Forest, Arthur, Northern Wellington County, Saugeen Shores, Kincardine, Southern Bruce County, Hanover, Dundalk, Southern Grey County, Owen Sound, Blue Mountains, Northern Grey County. So some of these areas that had been in and out of the warning, now back in. We can see them popping up. When we're looking at this image, we can see where the red starts to pop up to the right. That's the latest severe thunderstorm warning. So again, Mount Forest, Saugeen Shores, Hanover, Owen Sound, Kincardine, all now under a severe thunderstorm warning. So they're in. Wingham, Listowel, Blythe, Milverton, Southern Huron, Northern Perth County are out of the severe thunderstorm warning, and I've got a few, I think I've got a few more here. Okay, these are new. Okay, Wingham, Blythe, Northern Huron County, Listowel, Milverton, Northern Perth County. So I think they took them out and then they put them right back in almost 1 minute later. That can happen.
That does
it's okay.
happen. I've seen it happen many times.
Yeah, so we're all, we're all just people working, right?
Yeah.
Environment Canada, they're working hard on these storms as well. Sometimes that happens. So they dropped a warning, reissued it a minute later. So this storm is located from Thornbury to 10 kilometers southwest of Durham, to 15 kilometers south of Listowel, to 10 kilometers north of Mitchell, and it is moving east at 65 kilometers per hour. I love how direct, how much Environment and Climate Change Canada meteorologists are now pinpointing where these storms are, because it's such a big area that is under the warning. And the hazards for these warnings include 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts and nickel-sized hail. And one more thing, Ida, before I throw it back to you, a severe thunderstorm warning has ended. So this is farther north. Espanola, Killarney, West Nipissing, and the French River are now out of the severe thunderstorm warning.
That's perfect. Yeah, so we can see these storms are still holding strong. It doesn't seem like it is dying down. It's still pushing through, becoming more potent as it continues to track eastward. We'll continue to see those thunderstorm warnings continuing to pop up throughout the area.
Thankfully, no tornado warnings right now. But again, with these storms, we were mentioning the fact that heavy rain is associated with some of them. I know there are places that are drought-stricken in southern Ontario, farmers needing some rain. Nobody necessarily needs it like this, though, all at once. And for urban centers, when this storm eventually makes its way east, that can be a problem when it's, when there's more concrete than, say, grass. That's when we can get problems on the roads with ponding and pooling, and people start to hydroplane. That's not what we want. We want the rain where we need it, but not where we don't. And we can't choose, Ida.
Absolutely, Kim. Yeah, we have been talking about southern Ontario not receiving a whole lot of rain this summer, and with this system pushing through, we're still not going to, we're getting a lot of rain, but it's still not going to be helping with the drought conditions.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, and with these storms, we've been showing some damage. The powerful winds has been a problem with these. One of the main hazards, 100K winds, not out of the question. People could lose power. There could be local damage. Your patio furniture could go flying. I was telling Jesse earlier that about 3 or 4 years ago that happened in my backyard. All the fences came down. We had a bit of a downburst. Our neighbor's glass table flew from their backyard into my pool, shattered at the bottom of my pool.
Oh, no.
Of course, I had to get a whole new lining. And yeah, so some of these things you can tie down, other things you just don't expect to take flight. But with severe thunderstorms, you just have to be aware of anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds very dangerous and very unfortunate. And yes, as you mentioned with the downburst, that's the main issue that we are going to be watching out for with these storms that are going to be pushing through. So we're going to be watching for those downbursts, which is going to be where the strongest winds will be. So ahead of those storms, that's where we're going to be watching for those strong winds. And the strong winds will be the major issue with these, or the main threat rather, with these storms.
Yeah, now this is a line of storms that extends from the southwest all the way to the northeast, about 1,000 kilometers. A lot of people impacted by these, but again, not everyone will see a storm, despite the fact that it's linear. There's always the people who say, you know, where's my storm? I have it on my icon. Ida, let's talk about that a little bit, about how severe thunderstorms, you know, they can be hit and miss.
Absolutely, especially in the summer. That's when it's very tough to pinpoint exactly where thunderstorms will be, because thunderstorms, they pop up at a certain area, or not at a certain area, but within an area, but exactly pinpointing is very difficult.
Yeah, it's like, you know, having those popcorn kernels in a pot if you did it the old school way.
Exactly.
And you know they're going to pop, but you don't know which one's going to go first.
Exactly.
And not all of them will, all right? But you know, all the ingredients are there. You got the heat, you got the oil, and then which one's going to pop, that's anybody's guess. But you know something's going to happen. It's just a matter of when and where. So we can see widespread warnings on this map in yellow. Those are our severe thunderstorm watches. That's been in place for quite a few hours, indicating that we've got ingredients for severe weather. In brown, we've got those tornado watches. Tornado watches, meaning again, conditions are favorable for a possible tornado to form, not a warning. A warning, when you get that on your phone, it means it is happening or is imminent and you need to take cover. And there are plenty of severe thunderstorm warnings on this map, anywhere in red. We see it changing all the time. I don't know if something's coming in or leaving, but warnings along those shores of Lake Huron all the way down to the St. Clair River.
Absolutely, and I do want to mention that we have been watching these storms, watching those models, future forecasts, and it has been pretty accurate with this, and especially with the timing as well, with these storms tracking through. And with the area that is covering, we watch for the convective energy, which is the thunderstorm energy, where we can see those storms popping up, and it has been pretty, where it's lining up with what is actually happening right now, especially with the timing as well.
Yeah, I mean, everything is almost perfectly forecast. We saw this coming a few days in advance, and it is doing exactly what we thought it might do. Who exactly gets hit is another question, but the fact that Environment and Climate Change Canada issued that tornado watch so early in the day, knowing exactly where they thought that the most severe weather would be. And then we can see that the warnings are popping up now a little bit closer to the shores of Lake Erie.
Yes,
so
it looks like St. Thomas, West Lorne, looks like they are now in that thunderstorm warning as well.
That's
and that
what's
line
gonna
of
happen,
storms
right?
is continuing to track eastward, so we're going to continue to see those thunderstorm warnings pop up just to the east. So
I'm going to get them, I'm going to get the official list here for you, Ida. Thank you, Shannon. Okay, so yes, so as you mentioned, the areas, St. Thomas, Aylmer's in there now, eastern and western Elgin counties, Rodney, Shedden, all under that severe thunderstorm warning. So, you know, following that line, giving you the heads up right before the storm hits, that's what warnings are for. Just want to show you another tweet here. Mark Robbins said, stopping just south of Lucan now, and the core is on top of us, meaning that he's right under the storm itself. capturing it as it's happening. This is moments ago in Lucan, and you can see that it's rain wrapped. I mean, there's lots of rain, hard to see the storm, the darker clouds in the distance. The winds are very strong as well, and our storm hunter Mark Robinson is on that storm. This is ODog1019 on Twitter saying, over top of us now in London. London was under a tornado warning.
Look at that
severe
shelf.
thunderstorm warning. Yeah, just an incredible shelf. You can see the sunlight too, just making it all that more dramatic. So people looking at a sky like that, yeah, that's going to get some attention, Ida.
And that blue hue in that supercell or that storm looks very, very dangerous as well. So a lot of rainfall, some possible hail in that system as well.
Yeah, there's likely hail in there. Do we have any more? That's it. Okay, so let's get back to the radar, show you where the storms are. We were mentioning that we have some new severe thunderstorm warnings, a little bit closer to Lake Erie now. ECCC is letting us know that Rodney, Shedden, Western Elgin County, St. Thomas, Aylmer, and Eastern Elgin County are now under the warning. This line of severe thunderstorms is located from Granton to 9 kilometers southwest of Strathroy to 15 kilometers south of Wallaceburg to 8 kilometers southeast of Tecumseh, moving east at 70 kilometers per hour. And I feel like I have another, we have another tweet, not this one. Yes, this one? Okay, so this, I'm going to bring back up the tweet from Mark Robinson just showing rain sweeping across the road. He's in the core south of Lucan now, just tweeting this at 7:39, so in the last minute. So this is almost a live shot, and you can see that there's debris flying around here as well. So this is a dangerous storm.
Absolutely.
As indicated by this video.
Yeah, absolutely. And very heavy downpour. So very dangerous if you are driving in that area. We could possibly be like with the traveling, we could be impacting the road views.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, people can't see. Sometimes your windshield wipers do not go fast enough in storms like this. I've seen a lot of people, Ida, just pull right over to the side of the road because you can't see. And this could be blinding rain. So not only it could be worse than a snowstorm in some cases with heavy rain. Also, ponding, pooling on the roads. I mean, these are rural areas, and hopefully you can just pull over safely. This is a look now at another video. This is near Bayfield. This person pulling over as well because, well, you can see what the rain is doing. Again, hard to see, hard to drive in this kind of thing. And again, if the water does pool on the roads, which it may not if there's fields in the area, but if it does, you could hydroplane. You can find yourself in a very sticky situation.
And I just want to remind everyone, if you do take a video of these storms passing through, pull over to the side like that person did recording the video, because it is dangerous to try to record and drive, especially with those heavy rainfalls. Yep,
you shouldn't be recording and driving at all. If you've got a passenger who can do it for you, that's great. If not, pull over. Here's Andrew Tremblay. So Drew Tremblay on Twitter in London, Ontario, and the storm is here, he says, and we can see the storm over the city, and this is obviously a highly populated city, is London, Ontario, in the southwest, south of Lake Huron, and yes, it looks like, again, what people think of as a flying saucer or a mothership when we get these rotating storms and these shelf clouds moving over. And obviously we can see this is in the suburbs of London. Andrew Tremblay showing us. And by the way, if you tweet photos or videos, location and time, essential, #OnStorm. You can do @Weather Network on Twitter as well. We're going to be live streaming for about 5 more minutes here unless something changes dramatically. So just giving you the heads up, we'll still be live on TV and we'll be covering these storms there. Now the latest storm, or one of them, is located from Thornbury to about 10 kilometers southwest of Durham to 15 kilometers south of Listowel to 10 kilometers north of Mitchell. It is moving east at 65 kilometers per hour. Again, one of these storms that has 100 kilometer per hour wind gusts potentially and nickel-sized hail. And if you are in a severe thunderstorm watch, maybe not a warning, you could be warned later. This is the time to be prepared for possible power outages. It could happen in storms like this. You want your cell phone charged. You want candles or flashlights around. You just want to make sure that if the power goes out, that you are ready.
Absolutely, Kim. And I just want to quickly go over the timing of this storm before we drop off of the live stream. So this is 8 p.m. Eastern time, so in about 15 minutes. So this storm is going to be tracking through, continuing. So the GTA, the downtown core, is not out of the safe zone. So we could potentially see some heavy downpours within the next hour or two as that system continues to track through. And we are watching for the system to continue to build, possibly bringing some damaging wind gusts being the main threats with the system. And the system is going to continue to move eastward. So we're going to continue to track the system. Even though we're going to be ending the live stream soon, we're going to continue to track the system as we're still going to be seeing some potent storms with this system, with this frontal boundary moving through.
We've got some new videos to show as well on Twitter and some photos too. And what's the latest? Okay, now we've got a severe thunderstorm warning for Woodstock, Tillsonburg, and Oxford County. So you are now under that severe thunderstorm warning, meaning it is on your doorstep, it's happening, or is imminent. Always room for more podcasts like that. Always more pod. Tornado warning in London, Ontario. So this is showing what the sky was looking like over London. Of course, because London has such a big population, a lot of people had their cameras out, their phones out, showing what was going on. And yes, it does look like a sci-fi movie. I think if we scroll down, we've got a couple more. Is that right? Or is this the main one that we're showing? And here's another, here's another angle from Amy Stone. So Amy Lee, 35, saying, so many adults and small children out in London driving around, grocery shopping, walking dogs. And then she says, we get safety warnings for a reason, folks, meaning get inside. Amy, I like how you think. I'm the same way. And here we go, storm or Vecnol. I think that's some kind of a sci-fi reference that I don't get because...
Stranger Things.
Is that what it is?
It is.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I got to get past season 1. All right, so here we go. Again, another shot of the sky over London, Ontario. Really impressive.
Very impressive structure.
Man, yeah.
Beautiful system, Kim.
Okay, so Ida, let's get back to the radar, show where these storms are. We're going to be wrapping up in just a little over a minute and a half. Still warnings and watches in place, including our tornado watch. Again, if a tornado warning is issued, please get to your basement, get to the lowest floor in your home if that happens. Stay away from windows, stay away from glass, interior rooms, bathrooms, bathtubs, that kind of thing. That's the safest place to be. And the more you know about severe weather, the less fearful you will be of it. And looking at a radar and understanding a radar is one of the key things too, Ida. Absolutely.
So this is the current radar right now. And again, you can see how big this structure is. So again, we mentioned that this storm is stretching from all the way down to the state side and all the way up to Quebec area as well. So very big, very potent structure. We're seeing still those tornado watches and those warnings are still in place. So be weather aware if you are heading out, walking your dog. Watch out for the system, and as well as especially those strong wind gusts ahead of that line of storm.
I'm going to get into a couple more tweets before we let everybody go, at least on the live stream. We will, of course, keep you informed on TV. Mike Maloney saying pushing over London, Ontario right now. Again, a shot of the storm cloud. There it is. There's the shelf moving over London. And I believe we have Ingersoll too, real quick. Yeah, incoming Ingersoll. Hashtag on storm, modern hipster, Marty Gibo, I guess, tweeting that. So thank you everyone for joining us for this live stream. We'll continue to follow these storms and keep you informed on the Weather Network. Thank you.